Part 83. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 824. According to the calendar, autumn is gradually entering, but the weather is getting hotter and hotter. Even for Beizai, other than Xiaozai, any little loli can usually bully her, but now if anyone dares to take away her fan, she will also glare at them. The Japanese also compromised. Komi, here's the ice cream for you. Atago took a cone, which was as hot as a dead dog. He lay on the counter of Kaohsiung noodle shop alone, watching the sea breeze blowing the wind chimes and making a ding, ding, ding sound. Sea of birds. Cones are only provided by coffee shops. Even if you usually don't want to go to American-run coffee shops, this is obviously not the time for quarrels. Facing a powerful enemy called scorching heat, everyone must unite and cooperate sincerely. There are some grudges in history. Just let it drift away. Atago Samatorium took the cone and just licked it, feeling the coldness and sweetness on the tip of her tongue. She was so moved that crystal tears filled her eyes. No one in this world treats her better than her sister. Let's go, you can continue to look at the store. Atago waved his hand, waving his palms to fan the wind, and went out. She was going back to the cafe to continue enjoying the air conditioning, as well as ice cola, red bean smoothie, fruit ice, milkshakes, plum juice, daifuku, sorbet, and yokan. Speaking of which, Sister Kaohsiung and Maya are still waiting, and they all made an appointment to play the Monopoly game. I played it recently and found it quite interesting. It's just that Monopoly is a game for 4 people, and there is still one person left. I don't know if it would be better to call him Daifeng or Ruhi. The seaside is a great place to cool off. Ko was wearing a beautiful swimsuit, wearing one hand through the swimming ring and holding the surfboard with the other. She felt aggrieved. I don't know why every time I see my sister, I want to teach her a lesson. I feel that God is really unfair. Andrea taught Ko a lesson again. Passing by Venito's room, she knocked on the door and opened the door. She saw Veneto wearing a stroppy bikini and was a little overwhelmed. So Vivi, you are ready? Let's go swimming. No, 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 I won't go. Veneto waved his hand quickly. Andrea was a little confused. If you're not going, why are you wearing a swimsuit? Veneto didn't know how to explain it. She lowered her head and almost burst into tears. Sorry, I really want to try on a swimsuit once. Sorry, you can't go to the beach, otherwise you will be unable to help but destroy the world. Outside the guard's mansion, by the woods. Brother-in-law, don't you feel hot? Saratoga asked. Sugu replied, it's not hot at all. Saratoga took out a handkerchief from her pocket and wiped Sugu's sweat thoughtfully. She said, you can come back later. It's really not hot, it doesn't matter. Sugu put his hand on his forehead and looked at the sky. It was already afternoon, so why was the sun still so poisonous? Missouri was just wearing a tank top and hot pants. She sat on a big rock, folded her slender, sexy legs, and took a sip of iced Coke. Is it necessary? Of course it's necessary. Sugu swallowed and couldn't help but ask, where did you get the Coke? Missouri asked, want to drink? Nonsense. Here you go. Missouri handed out the Coke. Feeling a little thirsty, Sugu wanted to reach out, but before he could do so, he thought that Missouri must not be that simple. Forget it. I don't dislike you yet, but you dislike me instead. Missouri finished drinking the iced Coke, crushed the can and threw it into the trash can far away. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The cicadas chirped so loudly that it felt like they were coming from all directions. Sugu felt that he couldn't bear it, and the world was spinning. He decided to go back to the garrison to repair for the time being, and continue fighting later. This was not a retreat, but a strategic shift. Missouri raised his chin and pointed out the direction for him. You are usually so smart, you look at that foam box, There's ice coke, ice cream, and everything in it. Sugu suddenly realized it. He stood up quickly and suddenly thought of something. He looked back at his sister-in-law. Chia, do you want it? Yes, Saratoga smiled brightly, her brother-in-law really loved her the most. Sugu had just walked to the foam box when he saw Lan lying on top of the foam box and shaking his head. Admiral, no, what we have here will be taken away. I want 2 cans. Sugu raised 2 fingers. Miss Missouri, Sister Ziwahi, and Sister York City Lan counted, and she showed a scared expression. Sister Akage took 3 cans of Coke and 5 ice cream sticks by herself. We don't have much left, so I'm here to keep watch. On. Sugu looked at Akage. She was wearing a white sleeveless dress today, not her favorite kimono or yukata. She also wore a wide-brimmed hat, which was very girlish. He seemed to have discovered himself, eating ice cream and looking at himself innocently. Despite this, he was not prepared to let it go. He picked up Lan and took away 2 cans of Coke by force. Gia, here you go. Brother-in-law Saratoga was very moved. Comfortable Sugu drank the Coke in one breath and burped, regaining his energy. Cushing, is the stove set up? Long Xiang's head still couldn't be used as a stove. Fantasy, have you picked up the branch? Although I brought charcoal. Even on a hot day, the little lowly don't like the heat. They are having a picnic. A picnic that belongs to little Lolita without the help of adults. Sugu didn't want to leave. There was no need to explain the reason. To be precise, Xiaoxiang Liden was already a girl, but they didn't miss it. Of course Ningai and Pinghai can't participate, otherwise there will be nothing else to do. Xiao was sitting cross-legged on the ground peeling potatoes with a fruit knife. Lei and Dion blinked and peeled the onions, shedding tears as they peeled. The chopping board was placed on the ground, and Li held the carrots with one hand and cut the carrots into pieces with a kitchen knife in the other. They are going to make curry, and they know how to do it. Cushing's stove was finally built, except for a hole in the ground and 3 large rocks next to it. Long Xiang crossed her arms. Even though she had suffered a lot of losses, her character did not restrain at all. Su Xiang, you come and light the fire, and I will tell you how to do it. First spread the grass underneath, then put the dry branches on top, and finally take the lighter and light the fire. Mahan, have you found Huang Niba? Lafite shouted. What are you going to do, beggar's chicken? Sugu saw Lafite holding a chicken. Of course, it was the kind of chicken that had been disemboweled, all the feathers were plucked, and even marinated. After all, killing a chicken is too difficult for little Lolita. Not talking about them, he thought of London. This girl scared people to death every time she entered the kitchen. The chicken killer didn't know how to grab the wings and cut the throat first to let out the blood. Instead, he cut off the chicken's head with one blow and then let go of the chicken. Suddenly there was a scene of a headless chicken running around. They didn't even know how to scald it with hot water first and then pluck the hair directly, which frightened Yuxian and others. Yes, Lafite glanced at Sugu and replied. Even though everyone was already far away, these adults still came to find them, leaving them helpless. But as long as you don't interfere, it doesn't matter. Did you bring tin foil? Sugu had studied with Supreme Chef Yuxian for so long. He didn't learn it in vain, and he didn't just look at his thighs. We have lotus leaves. Lafite pointed to a bag not far away. Sister Yuxian gave it to us. Sugu saw what Lafite had brought out again. He hesitated for a while. This, rabbit. Yes, rabbit, Lafite said, we want to be a beggar rabbit. Beggar rabbit, consultant Su, is there such a dish? Since there are beggar chickens, there must be beggar rabbits. Lafite took it for granted and drew inferences. As an admiral, Sugu naturally knows the garrison very well. Yuxian raised a lot of chickens and kept them behind the canteen, but he couldn't take them out casually. They were for his exclusive use. Thank you again, Yuxian, for being gentle, thoughtful, and considerate. San Juan and Prince Eugen would buy a lot of chicken, duck, fish, beef, mutton, and pork every time they went out, and keep them in the refrigerator for use at any time. However, when it comes to rabbit meat, people generally don't think about it. When did you buy the rabbit? Lafayette replied, imaginary rabbit. Ada, Sugu asked after hesitation. Ada is the name of the pet rabbit that I dreamed of raising. Lafayette nodded, yes, Ada, he can finally stay with us forever. Utility agreed. Sugu was greatly surprised. Agreed. The black man's question mark, Sugu simply didn't know what to say. He remembered that he used to go to Sichuanjiu with his dreams, and passed by the flower and bird market, but he couldn't walk when he saw the little rabbit. She shook her hand coquettishly, expressing that she liked the Admiral the most, which was hard to refuse. After he said to himself that you are just 3 minutes of heat, he vowed to take good care of himself and make him fat and healthy. However, in the end, after raising them for a few days, they ignored them and gave them all to Vauclan. The reason is, she originally thought that rabbits can run very well, just like the hamster that used to be super motivated to run the hamster wheel every day. She likes all small pets that can run. Who knew that the rabbit was not good at all and had no love at that time, but at least he knew that he was the master. Come on, now it's actually used as a sacrifice to the 5 internal organs temple, and everything is over. Several small submarines and gun divers are responsible for going into the water to touch crabs and shrimps. Souk Bader has been fishing, and they have already decided to cook and grill whatever fish they catch. Odin stayed by her side, and the 2 little girls were never separated. So speaking of the master fishing masters, they have already caught a basket of fish. I'll do it. Z17 picked up the fish and the knife, and she was ready to show off her skills. Compared to London, she somehow knew how to break open the fish's belly and take out its internal organs, but she didn't know how to knock the fish unconscious before taking action. At that time, there was another scene, a fish with all its intestines and internal organs flowing out, jumping on the ground and flapping its tail. Sugu couldn't help it anymore. Do you want the Admiral to help you? Xiao Zai poked the fish with his finger. No. Sugu coughed and said, even if you don't want my help, I'll still have to eat it later. Okay. Xiao Zai didn't care. Saratoga came over at this time and asked, I want it too. Xiao Zai hesitated for a moment. If he didn't agree, he would definitely get slapped in the face. Okay. What about me? Akagi interrupted. The foodie girl Dafeng is just a child in front of Akagi. Quincy can barely be considered an opponent, but she has a debuff, that is her sister New Orleans. No one around Akagi can stop her, especially since she is quite unconscious and loves to cheat. Xiao Zai immediately shook his head resolutely. No, not Sister Akagi, otherwise we won't have anything to eat. I know, I eat a lot. Akagi sniffed. I know, I have always been hated by everyone, and Xiaozai is no exception. Xiaozai said, okay, I'll feed you. A group of little Lolita were busy, and many people sat beside them and couldn't wait. Saratoga looked at Sullivan. The pink-haired little Loli took a spoonful of fish soup and took a shallow taste. She nodded thoughtfully, then added a little salt to the fish soup, picked up the spatula and stirred it. After a moment, yeah, Sullivan is very much a wife. Sugu whispered, we agreed, Sullivan will marry me when he grows up. Sigsby doesn't do anything, he's just a little leprechaun. For girls, as long as they are as beautiful as flowers, it will be fine. Sugu said, we have agreed that Sigsby will marry me when she grows up. Saratoga couldn't help but poke Sugu's waist with her elbow. Sugu rubbed his waist and laughed, no one is missing. Sister Akagi. In fact, the reason why I couldn't join in the beginning was mainly because of my figure. Archerfish was extremely aggrieved. She found that Akagi casually picked up the tomatoes and ate them while talking to her. Now that there are no tomatoes, what should I do with the vegetable salad? Time passed little by little, and when the sun began to set, Xiaozai took a poker and poked the charcoal fire and pulled out a big ball of mud. The beggar's chicken is ready. Xiaozai couldn't wait any longer. She picked up the mud ball and threw it, and the fragrance suddenly spread. She took a closer look and said, "Lafite, you forgot to stuff the mushrooms and onions." Sugu came over. He looked around and couldn't help but tear up a chicken leg without caring about the hot hands. "I'll have a taste." Saratoga tore into a chicken wing. Hey, hey, you guys are so heartless, you didn't call me." Missouri tore up a piece of chicken breast. Akage didn't say anything. She tore off a chicken leg and a chicken wing. The little house saw that for a short period of time, all that was left of the beggar's chicken was the chicken stand. If you can endure this, what else can't be tolerated? York City sucked his fingers and said, "The taste is just average." Xiaozai almost cried. Firefly saw Akage picking up the poker. "Sister Akage, what are you doing?" "The beggar rabbit should be fine," Akage said to himself. Hindenburg had already called Admiral Sugu and did not regard herself as an outsider. She was holding a bowl of fish soup. She was actually mainly joining in the fun. Ziwihi had already scooped out the rice, and she opened the lid of the curry pot. Okay, Xiaozai, don't hit anyone," Sugu said. "Tonight, no, there is no time in the evening. I will hold a barbecue party for you tomorrow." Xiaozai disliked it. "Rare." Saratoga said, "Brother-in-law, you are going to the Enterprise tomorrow, do you have time?" Sugu replied, "The day after tomorrow." "What's the matter?" "No big deal. Looking for the lost ship girl." Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 825. The young man asked the Zen master, "My ambition is noble and pure. I can emerge from the mud without being stained. I cannot tolerate this filthy world." The Zen master took out a bag and asked the young man to put the garbage in the house. The young man quickly filled it, and the Zen master took out another bag. The young man suddenly realized, "Are you saying that as long as you have a broad enough mind, you can accommodate the world?" The Zen master shook his head, pointed at the bag and said, "Pretend, you continue to pretend. Equipped with many realms. The lowest form of pretense is just to show off your savings, cars, bags, and watches directly in your circle of friends. To be honest, the pretense is annoying. A slightly more advanced outfit, the title is that mosquitoes are so powerful, the skin is tanned, or the arm is injured, and the photo is of course a wrist wearing a famous watch. A photo of a traffic jam reminds everyone not to take this road. I can quietly take pictures of the cab to show that I own a car and it is a luxury car. I can also take a photo of my girlfriend's sexy long black legs sitting in the passenger seat to show that I have a girlfriend and she is super beautiful. So what is the highest state of pretending? I hate money the most in my life. I feel bad about earning 200 million a month because I can't spend it all. Set a small goal that is achievable first. For example, I will earn 100 million first. I don't feel that I am special. Rich. They all come from ordinary families. Our family's living habits have not changed much over the years. At most, the house is a little bigger. How to install, this is a university question. It was the morning of the next day. Sugu was sitting on the bench guardrail in the corridor outside the warehouse of the town warden. Missouri stood beside him. "Sugu, are you going to the company tomorrow?" "Yes," Sugu replied. "What happened again? Didn't you read the monthly magazine, Consultant Sug?" In a world without the internet, mobile phones, and underdeveloped communications, exchanging information is quite difficult. There were occasional gatherings among the admirals, and the abyssal ship girl appeared again during the exchanges. Model worker Akami Yamato was restless again, and a battleship came from the Yanshang Island department and looked easy to deceive. Then the Kanyang headquarters wants everyone to know something. There is a publication similar to Half Moon Talk and Reference News. However, some things are difficult to publish in these magazines after all. The Shipgirl headquarters will summon the admirals every once in a while. Missouri said, "Look. It should be just a routine meeting," Sugu said. "No matter where you are, even if nothing happens, there are never fewer meetings, only more." Missouri flipped up her long brown hair and lightly opened her sexy and seductive lips. "So have you decided? Wherever there are people, there are rivers and lakes. No matter what the purpose is for everyone to gather together, how can a place with an admiral not show off? Capital ships come first, regardless of battleships, battle cruisers, or aircraft carriers. Which one is more powerful, which one is rarer, which one is more beautiful, which one to take with you? It's just that there aren't too many garrison towns with capital ships. Many admirals only have heavy cruisers and light aircraft carriers, which is barely enough. There are always a few admirals, or rather many admirals, and only destroyers. There is no other way. I have to bite the bullet and do it. Anyway, big fish eat small fish eat shrimps, and shrimps eat mud. I don't know who is better." Sugu crossed his arms. He hadn't decided yet. Missouri said, "Xiao Zai and Xiao Luo." Xiao Zai doesn't want to, Sugu thought to himself. He saw her in the morning. Xianxiang, Lafite, and Siu Xin were all playing. She was the only one sitting on the small horse, reading comics, staring intently, and talking to her. Still impatient, besides, taking her with you will no longer serve the purpose of pretending to be a pig and eating the tiger. Many people know her. Missouri covered her mouth and snickered, "Perverted Lolita Control Admiral. Asshole editor, falsely accusing me of my innocence," Sugu angrily said. In the new version of Shipgirl's illustrated book, in the introduction of the Tirpitz, the existence of the infant Tirpitz is mentioned. Prototypes, ship parameters, photos, and anecdotes. One of the anecdotes is this: the first juvenile Tirpitz, the cutest in the world, was owned by a perverted Lolita admiral named Suzayazai. Unscrupulous seals were showing off their boats everywhere, triggering a building frenzy. I don't object to the latter one, but the previous statement about the perverted Lolita Control Admiral cannot be tolerated. It is simply hateful and a complete slander. Obviously I have so many wedding ships, but there is no little Loli, which is much better than those admirals who give rings to destroyers and enter the gendarmerie many times. Letting Sugu defend herself, Missouri smiled contemptuously and said, "Xiao Luo is pretty good. Not many people know about her yet. Xiao Luo, it's not that she's afraid of her 100,000 wives, or that she's childish. Why is this sister wearing glasses? That sister's hairstyle is so weird, and that sister looks so scary. If you want to take her there, you must bring Nelson, bring it with you." Although this is not a problem, Sugu sighed. Although he was invincible in dealing with young girls and little Lolita, the time they spent together now was still too short. After all, he was just a little behind. "Actually, I like Changchun very much. She is not like Xiaozai, and is already very famous. The guided missile destroyer can be said to be a destroyer, but it is different from a destroyer. It is quite powerful. It is simply the best choice to pretend to be a pig and eat the tiger." Sugu remembered in the morning, "I saw Changchun following behind Yuxian, chattering non-stop, but I've already taken her out twice." Missouri asked, "Twice is just two, what's the big deal?" "Although it's okay, but Sugu said, let's put it this way, you have a very beautiful dress and you wear it every time you go out." Missouri glanced at Sugu, and she took a deep breath. "I thought of comparing an ordinary garrison to an ordinary family. A battleship can be said to be a car, and it will be dignified when driven out. If it were the garrison of a European admiral, it would be a wealthy family with many battleships and many cars. Come on, it seems that for you, there are too many battleships, and it is inappropriate to describe them as cars, only clothes. She said, if I were the admiral, you would be lying in a pool of blood now, with 18 bloody holes stabbed in your body by spears. Sugu laughed and was non-committal. Missouri said, Indomitable is actually very good. She is very powerful, beautiful, and an armored aircraft carrier. She used to work in the West, and many people know her name, but not many people have seen her here. Her, Sugu shook his head, let's forget it. I'm afraid I'll be ridiculed by her at some point. Bulletin Tiao has been trained well by Dei Feng, and perhaps the reason is that he found that too many people in the guardhouse are stronger than him, and he is nothing. In short, his personality has become more restrained than before. But it's just a little better. After all, it is extremely difficult for a ship girl to change her character. Fortunately, at least it was within everyone's tolerance. In fact, everyone knew how to deal with her, which was to just take action without saying a word. Missouri happened to see California walking by. She suddenly raised her chin and said, just her, California. Well, California is a bit more ordinary. Sugu didn't know why. Although the California is a battleship, it is quite rare in a way. But this time there were many admirals going to the company. With more people and a larger base, there were naturally more admirals with capital ships. The California, which is relatively common among battleships, can easily be compared. Don't be superficial, don't pretend to be so stiff. Missouri pursed her lips and smiled, it can't be a destroyer, it can't be a light cruiser, it's better to have a more common and inconspicuous battleship like California. Missouri organized the language in his mind. As for the installation, the key is to suppress first and then increase. Let's equip California with explosive cannons and Pugley's underwater protection system first, and then, my ship's equipment in California is so ugly, what do you think? It's better to change the paint. I always feel that there is something wrong with my Californian ship's outfit. What do you think? And find an opportunity to let her unfold the ship's outfit. Where did the explosive cannon come from? Only Richelieu. Where did the Pugley's underwater come from? Protection system. Only Veneto. Look, it's silent and has a big one installed. Unlike games, here, theoretically, any ship girl can be built or salvaged. No matter what kind of equipment, it can be built, and it is not necessarily limited to a certain ship girl. But equipment like explosive cannons are not easy to build, and are even more difficult than Mk6. It can be roughly understood like this: steel contains different histories and memories. There is a lot of steel containing the history and memory of Mk6, but not much steel contains the history and memory of explosive cannons. Now that you have taken out the explosive cannon, most people will only think that you built it and Richelieu took down the equipment, but they will not think that you directly built the equipment. Sugu thought about it and couldn't help but praise, that's awesome, Missouri, why didn't I think of that? Nothing. Missouri waved her hands, without any pride on her face. Sugu thought thoughtfully, ginger fish cakes, and Oscar. No, Missouri said sternly, most admirals know about the explosive cannon and the Pugley's underwater protection system. The ginger fish cakes and Oscar are too high-end, and many admirals have never seen them. But, I don't know where it came from. Even if you show it, people don't know what it is, so what are you pretending to do? Do you want to teach them more about the fact that only Hood has ginger fish cakes, and only Bismarck has Oscars? In the game, players can easily transform a ship girl. It is not easy for a ship girl to grow up here. Many admirals have no idea that such a thing exists. You're still thoughtful. Sugu thought for a while. Missouri, I remember you have an early Mk7 on you. Missouri was not happy at the time. Hey, I'm giving you advice with good intentions, but you still have my ideas, that's a bit too much. I don't want your equipment, I'm just borrowing it. Sugu said, after all, you are mine, so the equipment is also mine. You still dare to tease me? Missouri turned her head and looked at Sugu. Just for a second, she smiled sweetly. Yes, I am yours. So you come to my room tonight, or I will go to your room. Sugu looked serious. I mean, you are my ship girl, not my woman. Where did you think you were? Missouri patted Sugu, and thought of something else before she spoke. Take Bismarck directly, or Lexington or something. That is a simple and crude way of showing off the boat. Xiazai, Xiaoluo, Changchun, that is pretending to be a pig. The tiger type boat showing. The kind I just mentioned is the edgeball type of boat showing. In fact, you don't have to bring the ship girl with you to tell others what kind of ship girl you have. Sugu narrowed his eyes. How do you say that? Missouri chuckled lightly. Those admirals with heavy cruisers, light cruisers, and destroyers, don't pay attention to them. They are just a group of African admirals. They have been exposed to countless times by others. They are used to it. Even if they are exposed. Can't get pleasure, can't see them crying and fighting, it's not interesting at all. Sugu interrupted Missouri. I don't mind, no matter who it is. I don't even know how to say hello to you. Don't be so cold and careless. It's obviously fun to show off European admirals, Missouri said. When those people bring Bismarck, no matter what, good or bad, you are like this. Say, your Bismarck is better, my Bismarck has a straight face all day long. Then draw inferences, you know. When those people bring wasps, you don't have this. You can also say that, your wasps are so beautiful, it was built several times, just a Yorktown and a CV-16. I'm not in vain. I've known these two tricks for a long time and have used them many times before Missouri could finish speaking. Sugu waved his hand and thought for a moment. You're not an admiral, but you do know a lot about it. Missouri suddenly felt resentful. She remembered that when she was still a newbie, she had such an instructor. Shaking his head, he stopped thinking about the sad things. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. Missouri said, actually, let me tell you, when I go to the Enterprise this time, what's the point of showing off my ship? What's the use of blinding the eyes of those admirals? Maybe it's better. He will be pushed to the ground and beaten. If you have this time, let's do something serious. For example, wouldn't it be nice to bring York City and Bumblebee to try to fish out the Enterprise as soon as possible? I thought so too, but the Enterprise is too difficult. As her sister and sister, with such a relationship, it should be easy. Who knows that York City and Bumblebee have taken action many times, and it is completely impossible. Well, maybe it's just York City and Hornet that are useless, Sugu said. He didn't really dislike it. He suddenly looked at Missouri. You are too useless. Fortunately, you are still a good friend and best friend of the company. Punch you, Missouri raised his eyebrows. Can I? Sugu shook his head firmly. Of course not. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 826. Yuehua County Department. This is the Jianyang branch where the company is located. Although it is located in a small county town, it is the one with the highest status in such a large sea area. It was already afternoon when Sugu brought everyone here. Unlike other admirals who had to live in the guest house, he had a house here, which was actually the apartment where Helena lived when she worked here. At this time, he was sitting on the sofa in the living room and put down the glass with half a glass of water left. Let's go, you can go, don't worry about me. With her long blue hair tied up and wearing a long plain dress, Helena shook her left hand held by Lafayette and said, but we have been discussing with Missouri for a long time about who should be brought along this time, how to pretend, and how to show off their style. After thinking about it, I finally decided not to show off. However, it is really not an easy task to win a business. You must be prepared for a long-term war of resistance. We will talk about it later. Considering that the ship girl is not willing to leave the admiral's side, everyone rarely leaves the townhouse. Helena and Lafitte have lived here for a long time. They have many friends who have not seen each other for a long time after leaving. They will definitely miss them. Sugu decided he asked them to come with him. You don't think I'll be in danger here? That's not what I meant, Helena said. He won't run away, he won't disappear suddenly, don't worry, Sugu laughed. Now he is getting better and better at sweet talking. He even didn't have that idea, and he had already said it, Helena is so beautiful, everyone is so beautiful, and I'm not stupid. Although some people in the guarding mansion said that someone must always stay by the admiral's side to prevent him from escaping, but that was just a joke, it wasn't necessarily a joke. Even if he couldn't get the admiral's heart, it was enough to get his body. Helena showed a helpless expression. I'm worried that you will be bored alone, so I should accompany you. If I had known earlier, I would have counterattacked the reputation, or called anyone over. Even here, do you think I don't know anyone other than you, so it's more considerate of the marriage ship? Thinking like this, Sugu said, there are so many admirals coming to this meeting, so there must be many people I know. There were many garrison houses and many admirals. He did not dare to say that he knew them all, but he still knew and was familiar with quite a few of them. Besides, it doesn't matter even if you don't know her, and she's not afraid of strangers. She blushes and stutters when she says a word. It's just fine to make friends if she doesn't have any friends. It couldn't be a simpler thing. Even if there is nothing, it is not difficult to stay alone for half a day. You can just sleep and walk around for a while. It's endless. Helena also wanted to say that Missouri couldn't bear it anymore. She took the initiative to come with her. Before Sugu asked her if she wanted to come with him, Helena, do you really not know, or are you just pretending not to know? Why do they have to let you go? You are the only one keeping the wedding ship by your side. How can I seduce a girl without looking at her long, white legs? A ship girl with an admiral cannot take action no matter what. But the people who came here were not just the admirals, but also the heads of the ship girl branches in various places. There is a rule that the person in charge of a ship girl branch can only be a ship girl, and cannot have an admiral at the same time, otherwise he must step down. As a ship girl and without an admiral, you can naturally take action with confidence and boldness, but it is hard to say how difficult it is. Being able to become the head of a ship girl branch has not been snatched away yet, and it has never been easy to deal with. Knowing this, Helena smiled and said, if he really has the ability to hook up with a few girls, I won't mind. Sugu put one hand on the back of the sofa and looked at Helena, pretending to be dissatisfied. Look down on me. Okay, Strasbourg, Duke of York, King George V, or Wisconsin, you pick one. Missouri pinched her chin. It's better to go to Wisconsin, sister. Helena and Missouri finally left, leaving only Sugu. He hugged the pillow and slept on the sofa for a while, but he tossed and turned and couldn't fall asleep. Soon he sat up and looked out the window. I have to say that the weather today was very good. There was no sun and it was a cloudy day, so he decided to go out for a walk. I don't know if Eugene is here, but he should be here. Her garrison is a bit far away from here, and it will definitely be too late to come here tomorrow morning. I want to tease her Mutsu, but I don't know why it feels so interesting. Speaking of Mutsu's bad luck, is meeting him a sign of bad luck? Sighing again, I don't know where my Mutsu has gone. It is said that he is beautiful, sexy, and bold. After walking around the Kanyang branch for a while, I wanted to go to the shipyard next door, but in the end I didn't go. After walking through the square and passing the office building, Sugu saw a girl standing in the corridor. As he passed by, the girl smiled sweetly and gave him a flyer. She looked at him for a second and said, "It's you, you guy. Sugu now saw the girl's appearance clearly, she was quite familiar, but he couldn't remember who it was. Houston is wrong, Oakland is wrong, and Tennessee is definitely wrong. He hesitated for a while, only to hear the girl say unhappily, "Hey, hey, you won't forget me, will you? Who abducted my Exeter home? By the way, there's also York. Your house is obviously mine." Sugu remembered now. When he was a new admiral intern, Admiral Chen Nan took him to a church, which was actually a psychological consultation room. The nun was a psychiatrist. It was there that I met Exeter, and the owner of that church was the girl in front of me. To be honest, he admired the other party very much. He invested so much, not for money or fame, but just for the mental health of the admiral and the ship girl. This is the real Madonna, not the kind of Madonna cancer, Leah. Why are you here? Leah shook the flyer, and Sugu picked up the flyer in his hand, read it, and read softly, "Care for the left-behind ship girls, they need not only material, but also companionship. Don't your admirals have a meeting tomorrow? And many admirals are coming today. We are here to promote it," Leah said. "Many ship girls have told us this year that the admirals don't care about them. It's not like they say no care, give money and get what you want, but there is a lack of companionship. The admiral only knows about work. You know, as long as the admiral is around, the ship girls don't mind eating chaffy vegetables. They really don't care about enjoyment so much, they care more about it. Other things, let's chat together and drive down the road together." Sugu smiled and said, "We don't have this problem in the town hall. I often accompany them." "Bang," Leah said in disgust at the time. "Exeter and York have visited me several times. I asked them how they were doing at the town house. What do you think they said?" Originally he just said it subconsciously, but Sugu paused and didn't know what to say. "There are too many people in the garrison, more than 100 and close to 200. The wedding ship is different, the small house, the dream, and so on are different. Exeter and York are really not too outstanding, and I rarely talk to them." Leah, who had been paying attention to him, saw his expression and sneered, "Just bluff and you'll be exposed." Sugu reacted, "Are you cheating on me? So what if I trick you?" Not so good, he couldn't hit or scold anyone, so he could only suffer the consequences. Sugu thought for a moment and rubbed his forehead. "I remember York and Exeter, except for expeditions, they basically never left the garrison." "You still said that." Leah rubbed her nose, "Two heartless guys, it's a shame that I was so good to them before." Hello, please take a look at this." At this time, an admiral came over. Leah stopped talking to Sugu and quickly handed over a leaflet. Then she found that Sugu was still looking at the flyer, and she angrily said, "All relationships that are not for the purpose of marriage are just hooliganism. There are also many ship girls complaining to us that the admiral talks to us every day, gives him gifts every day, and flirts with us every day. But I just don't want to give the ring. Girls don't want to be too proactive." Sugu defended the majority of the admirals. "It's probably just that the speaker didn't care and the listener did. The admiral didn't do anything, and the ship girl thought she was right. The admiral who is flirtatious and unwilling to take responsibility deserves a beating. If it was just unintentional, after all, it is his own fault as a ship girl." Leah still spoke for the ship girl. "What do you want me to say? Since the ship, if mother is willing, the admiral can just give her a ring. It won't do anything to give her a ring, and she won't lose a piece of meat or anything. As I said before, it's hard for an upright official to settle family matters." "It's not that simple," Sugu said. "Speaking of Chen Nan and West Virginia, they are not married yet." "I don't want to talk about Chen Nan's slender head." Leah held her forehead. She had been a matchmaker many times and it was not good at all. Sugu thought for a while, if the person who likes you is a destroyer, you also want to get married. Why not destroyers? The person who spoke was a male voice, not Leah. Sugu turned around and saw that it was the admiral who just got the leaflet and stayed by the side without leaving. When he heard his words, he questioned it, so he explained, destroyers are usually Lolita, young girls, their outlook on life, values, and worldview have not yet been formed, their minds are immature, and they don't understand many things, such as the meaning of rings and marriage. The admiral looked at the sky. When you look at the 20-year-old, you look like a child who doesn't understand anything. But when you look at yourself at the age of 30, you look like a child when you look at the 20-year-old. You don't understand anything. Then it's not the same truth that 10 years old looks like 30 years old. They like the admiral as much as anyone else. You don't understand and you are still a child, so you deprive them of the right to like and get the ring. Is this fair? Is it that they don't understand, or that you don't understand? Sugu knew something was wrong, but he didn't know how to explain it. When he saw the admiral's expression, he became fanatical. Whoever dares to oppose the destroyer, I will smash his dog head. The destroyer is really awesome. They are not those adults, they have been polluted by this world. You are awesome, you are a big sister, I have big breasts, let me say it first, you are Japanese, I am an American, and hate each other. They are innocent, they are pure and flawless, and they will not look down on you or her. Even Americans and Japanese can still hold hands and play together. A cute face, a soft face, a rosy face, a kiss, a bite, a pinch, your whole body will become crispy. Think about it, when you work hard all day, you only feel a soreness in your back when you lean on the back of the chair. At this time, she brought a glass of water over and said, Admiral, you have worked hard, drink water and take a rest. Look at her again, with her hands behind her back, smiling shyly, do you know what that feels like? Anyway, I just listen. To a voice, Hallelujah. Lyle looked at the admiral and hesitated, Suchen. Yes, the admiral nodded. Although he had never met a real person, Sugu still knew the name. He reacted in an instant and took a step back. Suchen smiled, it seems that you have heard my name. Yes, I am the president of the club, would you like some rabbits today? I've admired him for a long time. Sugu didn't want to deal with such a guy at all. He was such a pure person, and he didn't want to join the military police. Suchen saw Sugu's actions, it seems you have a bit of a misunderstanding about our society. I need to tell you what are the benefits of destroyers. I heard that your wedding ship is the Veneto. Isn't she a battleship? Sugu became wary. Is this an attempt to gain benefit? Veneto is not a destroyer. Do you dare to say that Veneto is not a destroyer? Suchen raised his hand, it is only a little tall and has no chest at all. What if the torpedo launcher on its back is any different from a destroyer? Sugu saw a white-haired little loli suddenly appear behind Suchen. Judging from her mature appearance, Veneto was right. But compared with his own Veneto, except for the main attributes, such as short, flat, white hair, etc., he is completely different. After talking to Laya for a while, Sugu left. After all, he still had things to do. After that, I met many acquaintances and said hello a lot. Finally, I sat alone on the grass on the slope. I saw Missouri and Enterprise talking under a tree from a distance, but I was too lazy to go up and say hello. Enterprise. Another Missouri, the battleship Missouri, isn't it beautiful? Sugu turned around and saw a man standing next to him. It's a pity that you have no chance in this life, and I have no chance in this life. I heard that she already has an admiral, the man said, let's meet Gao Su, the admiral of Sishu Island Guard House. Sugu thought to himself. He must have known who he was after saying his name. This name seems familiar, however, Gao Su couldn't remember who it was. At this moment, Enterprise seemed to see the side, and she waved her hand towards the side. Before Sugu did anything, he saw Gao Su wave his hand. Gao Sun was waving, confused that the Enterprise actually recognized him. He noticed that Sugu looked at him strangely, smiled, and coughed. Although he is not a big-shot admiral, he still has some strength in the governor's mansion. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 827. Under the camphor trees, Missouri is talking. Talking about why Hindenburg didn't come. It's really fun to bully her. That day, she harassed Lolita, North Carolina, and then she was beaten violently by Royal Sister, North Carolina. Speaking of perseverance, remember, she joined the governor's house and worked as a maid for a long time. I enjoyed her services of washing clothes, folding quilts, and serving tea and water many times. It felt really great. While talking, Missouri saw Enterprise waving to the side, so he looked over curiously. I saw my Admiral Sugu sitting on the slope of the grass over there. He did not move. Instead, a strange man standing next to him waved his hand. Although they are good friends in the company, they are not roundworms in their stomachs. They only get together occasionally. Missouri knows a few friends in the company, but she does not have the confidence to know them all, so she curiously asked, "Who is that?" Gao Su Enterprise replied. Regardless of whether the other party is a European admiral or an African admiral, even though she is the eldest sister of the Uehua department and manages many shipgirl branches and guard houses, she does not dare to look down on any admiral. Who knows when luck will break out and Xianyu will turn over. Besides, unless you are a zombie, because you manage such a large territory, you must know where the garrison is, who is the admiral of the garrison, how many shipgirls are under you, and what their combat effectiveness is. Otherwise, there is no way to arrange tasks. Missouri put his arm around Enterprise's shoulders. Do you have a good relationship? It doesn't matter, the company replied decisively, insisting on what kind of relationship it had, that is, a normal superior-subordinate relationship. Missouri was stunned for a moment, remembering the scene he just saw. It doesn't matter, why are you waving at him? I wasn't waving at him. Missouri reacted. She glanced at her admiral, who now looked harmless, and then her eyes returned to the other person. Is that person wrong? Yes, we made a mistake. The company is a little distressed, and it's hard to correct it, otherwise it would be so embarrassing. It's not an important matter. I have to explain it clearly. I can only make mistakes, and I just hope that I won't misunderstand myself in the future. If the company waves to me, it must be interesting to me. Think about it, it's just a wave of hands, it shouldn't be enough. How can anyone be so self-righteous? But who can tell clearly? There are some people, just when a girl smiles at herself, she immediately thinks of dating, getting married, having children, and even thinks of the name of the child. Rolling his eyes, Missouri started to laugh. I have an idea. Don't mess around. Enterprise naturally knew her friend's plan. She didn't have such bad intentions, she said sternly. It feels very interesting. Missouri didn't shout out. After all, brother, you made a mistake. Let's do this. Missouri muttered to herself, then blinked and waved. After only a moment, she was stunned, and the guy opposite actually waved. Sugu looked at Gao Su. If he hadn't seen him waving, the company's waving action would have obviously paused. Especially when Missouri smiled and waved later. It was his own ship girl, and he waved, really thinking that he and the company knew each other very well. After bursting into laughter, he finally understood everything, but he didn't know what to do better. The Enterprise may know all the admirals under his command, but when no one is familiar with her, as an admiral, you can meet her and take the initiative to say hello. That is not an easy thing. It shows that the admiral is quite remarkable and worth paying attention to. To be objective, if you think about it, if your own garrison is not top-notch, the ones in the middle and above are still considered top-notch. It's just that Missouri waved, which made people feel a little strange. After all, he already had an admiral, so he couldn't have any thoughts about himself. Is it just a rumor that there is an admiral? It is not necessarily possible that 3 people can become a tiger, a lot of people can make money, and all the bones can be destroyed. Then again, he is quite handsome, and can barely be called tall. Anyway, no matter what the reason is, if someone waves, I can't help but express it. After finishing everything, he took back his hand. Seeing that the other party showed no sign of coming over, Gao Su turned to look at Sugu. He showed a humble, but essentially proud smile. It sounds a bit snobbish, but this is human nature. I think. If you want to be respected and liked, you have to work hard to become stronger. I remember when I returned to my hometown when I first became an admiral, the goddess who looked down on me when I was a child was very courteous to me. I was very disdainful at the time. You used to ignore me. You can't reach me now. After thinking about it, I think it's too arrogant for me to want a girl to like me when I have nothing, and I'm not blind. Sugu could only smile shyly. Gao Su naturally didn't know what Sugu was thinking. He smiled and sat down next to Sugu. It doesn't matter. You are still young and have plenty of opportunities. Everyone can tell clearly when the European chi will explode. He became a big boss all of a sudden. Sugu thought to himself that if it were a game, his completion of the illustrations and fleet strength would be average at best, and ranking on the rankings would be unthinkable. Here, he can barely be considered to have some strength. Gao Su asked, "How many years have you graduated?" "It's been almost 3 years." Sugu did the math and thought that time flies by really fast, and time really sneaks away. "I still remember what happened when I was a kid, playing FC, Beyblade, and racing cars. Gold Speedmaster, Silver Speedmaster, and Audi Double Diamond were my partners. In the blink of an eye, I am already in my 20s. Even if I have not come here and have so many wedding ships, I am probably already married at this age. It should not be that soon, I can't tell anyway." "It's been 3 years," Gao Su said. "Chuangziu Naval Academy." "The principal of the academy who is always 17 years old." Sugu laughed. That was all he said. There is no admiral who doesn't know the captain of the Chuangziu Naval Academy, the war's Pite. Although he still looks so young, he is not young anymore. As the saying goes, a family with an elder is like a treasure. Under her management, Sichuanjiu Naval Academy can be said to be prosperous. Even if this is the case, if someone dares to call her elder in front of her, it's okay to call her sister, but if they dare to call her aunt or grandma, it's hard to say what will happen. Anyway, it's the kind of mosaic. He was also from the Chuangziu Naval Academy. He was very fond of hearing such a sentence. Gao Su burst out laughing and patted Sugu on the shoulder. "Quickly call senior, it has been so many years since I came out, but it is a pity that the number of certificates issued now is only good hundreds of times. I didn't get many medals, only a dozen ship girls, nothing, 2 battleships, barely reached 30 levels of training. Although I'm not strong enough, sometimes if I need help, just say a word. Admiral, what matters is unity." When Gao Su said that, Sugu could still hear that he was full of pride and showing off. It was evening when Sugu went back. Helena and Lafayette had already come back and were sitting on the sofa in the living room reading magazines. Missouri and Enterprise were also there unexpectedly. Enterprise saw him waving to him, and he smiled thinking of what happened in the afternoon. "Although I was treated as a newbie and showed off for a while, it felt very interesting." Missouri smiled. "First of all, I waved to the man, and he actually waved back. Do I know him?" "He knows you anyway." "Is he showing off to you?" "Yes. I wanted to go there, but the company wouldn't let me. I said my name, but he didn't recognize it." "You think everyone has to know you?" "When I thought of me afterwards, I didn't know what my expression was. It's quite embarrassing when you think about it." A good rant. "It's time to eat, It's time to eat, Lafite sang. We had dinner in the cafeteria, and there were already many people when we got here. Everyone found a place to sit down and then went to get food. Naturally, it was a buffet style. Enterprise held a knife and fork and crossed his legs. So, that Soviet Union, as long as she wins in drinking, she will join your garrison, you know. He had heard it many times, but Sugu didn't expect to see it here. He looked not far away and saw a white-haired girl, not tall, but quite cute. He was standing in the drinks area, probably getting vodka. The Enterprise's smile suddenly faded. The female admiral in the fruit area, her ship was sunk, a very cute destroyer. She has been in a bad state recently, and she is helpless. It is obviously just a deep-sea destroyer. All the ship girls were sent out. Deep-sea battleships appeared, asking for support everywhere. I have been complained several times, letting the deep-sea ship girls attack ships and cities. I will talk to her after the meeting tomorrow. This won't work. Otherwise we can only cancel the Admiral establishment. I hope she cheers up, otherwise she will take her own ship girl to rest for a while. If that is the case, please send a few people to take charge of her sea area. No problem. Sugu felt a little uncomfortable hearing such things. However, business is business, and being an admiral pays a lot of money. No matter what the reason is, the security of the sea must be shouldered. Speaking of which, I have been encountering another problem. Many people want to launch an attack on the deep-sea flagship on their own. But he is not stupid. He takes the money from selling flour and insists on selling white flour. Even if you are paid enough, there is no need to go to Africa and face many dangers to make a lot of money just as your family is rich. The company looked next to him again. So, look at that person, do you think he is an admiral or a ship girl? Admiral. You said so, it must be the admiral. Sugu followed the company's line of sight and saw a girl in a black dress standing beside a long table with many dinner plates. She has smooth black hair, flat bangs, and a figure that is not very impressive. After all, she is an Oriental, and she does not come from people's expectations like a ship girl, but rather from the expectations of a gentleman. She is obviously a little lowly but has a plump breast. Around. The company has no counter routine. Yes, Admiral. She is very beautiful. She looks like a porcelain doll. She is called Ota Sakura. She is no worse than our ship girls. She can be said to be a goddess. Admiral, she is really not a ship girl. Some ship girls are pretending as an admiral, she is not. Sugu said, I thought of Ruhi. She took the college exam and passed the written test. If I hadn't found her, she might have become an admiral. Missouri bit her chopsticks. Didn't you ask Helena to pretend to be the admiral? I don't, Prince of Wales, Helena said quickly. Oh, Missouri laughed. Sugu raised his head and said, Helena, you have fallen into a trap. Enterprise laughed, and she continued, that bald admiral, his garrison is super powerful. I've become bald and stronger, but I think hair is more important. While they were talking, there was a bloody storm in the cafeteria. It's nothing special. It's just Nizana, not worth mentioning. Oklahoma has just been built. Let's introduce it to everyone. If you ask me, destroyers are better. It's not like battleships, which consume too much. They have to be careful every time they attack. It's too difficult to train them. It's just Nelson. What about Big 7, Big Miss? It's still a slow ship. No. The reason why the admiral likes to show off his boats is simply the natural needs of human beings. There are two aspects, spiritual needs and material needs. As an admiral, apart from eating and drinking every day and spending money unscrupulously, it is basically impossible to be short of money. Even if you do nothing, you will get a good salary every month. When the material aspects are met, the spiritual needs become particularly urgent. Two people stood together, Lao Gao, how many people have you posted today? If Sugu noticed this, of course he would recognize that it was Admiral Gao Su, whom he met in the afternoon. At this time, he became more and more active around his friend. I'm not you, bitch, I just know how to show off. What did you do all afternoon? For example, training newcomers or something. Gao Su held the wine glass. Showing off to the newcomers. It's not a show off, it's just a casual chat. Gao Su snorted. Even if it's a show off, it's nothing, my garrison is so strong. You can't believe that the company said hello to me today. Oh, by the way, and Missouri, the same Missouri who was in the battle group and suppressed Yamato Fukumai, she also said hello to me. It's amazing. Just average, third in the world, I. When Gao Su was talking, he saw the table next to him. There was an orange-haired girl there who used to work here and then left. Helena, who had a figure that could overwhelm everyone in the room, was chatting with the company. She was talking to the company. She originally thought it was a new admiral named Sugu. And Missouri boldly hugged Sugu and poked small tomatoes from his plate with a fork. Such an intimate gesture could only be done when facing an admiral, or even an admiral with whom he had an unusual relationship. When Gao Su was stunned, his friends next to him looked along his line of sight. Well, Sugu, you can show off to anyone, even the old salted fish like the governor, it doesn't matter, don't bother to look for him. He with the most powerful garrison in the world, there are countless ship girls, and even what everyone knows is just the tip of the iceberg. Just one garrison defeated the Abyssal flagship twice. Remember that photo of Abyssal Yamato being humiliated? It was him. The news came from the garrison. The most hateful thing is that I have the cutest baby turpits in the world. I am envious. Sugu saw Gao Su and thought of what happened in the afternoon. It was a bit embarrassing for him to pretend to be a newbie for so long. So he quickly shook his shoulders to signal Missouri to pay attention. However, Missouri saw Gao Su, and she hugged his neck tighter. She didn't mind that Nephrite Wangxiang was sticking to his back, and waved her hand. Gao Su remained motionless, finally showing a smile, but it was no longer cheerful. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 828. Dinner was over and it was already night. Having just finished taking a shower, Enterprise wiped his slightly damp blonde hair with a towel. When she came out of the bathroom, she didn't put on her pajamas. Of course she had her underwear on, but she just wore a white shirt outside. The buttons on the neckline were not buttoned properly, revealing a deep ravine. The hem of the clothes barely covered the roots of the thighs, and a pair of sexy and toned thighs were pressed together. It's a pity that no one can appreciate such a wonderful scene. Well, there are still people who can see it. For example, Missouri has washed it long ago. Since she didn't bring any special clothes, she just wore a long corporate t-shirt. At this time, she was sitting on the sofa reading a magazine. When she saw the appearance of the company, she whistled like a gangster, good legs. Enterprise walked to the coffee table and poured himself a cup of Coke. He drank it all in one gulp and said, "You really don't want to go back?" "Go back," said Missouri. "Go back to where?" Enterprise looked at the window, where the curtains were naturally drawn, and the building opposite was where Helena lived, next to your admiral. Missouri's face suddenly became full of resentment. His face changed so quickly that it was astonishing. Such is the talent of an actor. Whether he was crying, laughing, or shy, he could do it casually. "You don't want me anymore, aren't we good friends?" Enterprise put down the glass and brushed her bangs. She couldn't bear it. "Don't act like this. You can stay as long as you want, and no one can stop you." Missouri put down the magazine, intertwined his hands with the palms facing outward, stretched his waist, and then lay on the armrest of the sofa. The big t-shirt was already loose, revealing the infinite beauty of her chest. She raised one leg and smiled charmingly, looking like a seductress. It's just a second bedroom over there. That guy must be sleeping with Helena. I don't want to sleep with him. The floor, the sofa, although it's good to sleep with Lafayette, I'd better sleep with you. Really, those are amazing thighs, touch them. Before Missouri's hand touched his, Enterprise bent down and slapped it away angrily. It's better to touch your own, it's worse than mine. Well, it's worse. Missouri's hand retracted, she sat up immediately, and then crossed her legs. What's worse than you? Yeah, everything about the body, whether it's height or measurements. She raised her middle finger towards the company. Weak chicken. No matter how mature she is mentally, it is impossible not to care as long as she is a girl. Although he didn't want to admit it, the other party's figure was much better than his own, and the company hated him so much that he had no way to stop him. Something suddenly happened to her, and she suddenly laughed, and asked funnily, "Hey, have you ever been touched by that guy?" "Where are you asking?" Missouri pulled her legs back and blinked. "Breasts, legs, wherever." "If it's legs," Missouri smiled playfully, "yes." This time it was the company's turn to be surprised, and they didn't expect it at all. As a good friend, she still knows Missouri's character. Although she talks quite casually and seems to be easy to hook up with, she will never let anyone touch her. Forget about girls, they will be slapped away accidentally. Men who think they are a charming and free-spirited girl want to put their arms around each other or do something, and there is a high chance that they will be thrown over their shoulders. You too. What about the two of us?" He tapped his lips with his index finger, and his thinking movements were sexy and seductive. Missouri looked at the company and thought for a while. There were too many gambling games, and she couldn't remember which one she lost, but she didn't expect to be so timid in advance. The guy actually dared to do something, so of course he still needed to be laughed at. Enterprise sat down next to Missouri. "Really, when are you getting married? I'll prepare a big red envelope for you, which will definitely satisfy you. By the way, I can also be the bridesmaid." "How to get married? You don't want to come with me, my maid, as a dowry?" Missouri laughed. "That guy promised me that as long as I bring you back to the garrison, I can choose whatever you want, whether it's Mk6, cat cannon, or Type 91 armor-piercing bullet." The company remembered the scene in the cafeteria when Missouri was introduced to Sugu, and he never thought that this day would happen. "I originally thought they would just chat and laugh like before, but Missouri is not that easy to deal with. Didn't he say it before? As long as you are willing to join the garrison, why do you want Mk6, cat cannon, or Type 91 armor-piercing bullets now?" Missouri thought about it and agreed on the bride price, like the salary in Leipzig has never been paid. The company is disgusted. A guy who was so smart before has become stupid since he joined the garrison. Or does love make people stupid? I have to ask him for it tomorrow. What a bastard! Missouri waved her hands, and then laughed to herself. If you want it, you can get it, but you don't want to make it difficult for others. She looked at the company again and said, "Are you really not coming? What's the point of being a minister here? You work so hard all day long and you still can't get a favor. We have Washington, Mahan, South Dakota, and so on in our governor's office. Your sisters, York City and Bumblebee, are two idiots. If you don't help them, they will be bullied to death, especially Bumblebee, who is pitiful enough to look at. How many admirals do you think have brought York City and Bumblebee to try to establish relations with me?" Enterprise said. "They didn't wake up together on the sea, they didn't live together and fight side by side for a long time and accumulated feelings little by little, they weren't in the same garrison, they weren't sisters at all. There were so many York City companies and Hornets in the world. I don't know which garrison has both York City and Bumblebee." Missouri spread her hands and said, "Didn't you long for your sister in the past?" "That was before. I was still a newbie at that time. Now I am a mature woman." Enterprise combed her long blonde hair. Those two are really stupid. Last time I came here, I saw me hesitating and unable to speak. I took the initiative to talk to them. It's too shameful to send such a fool here. Bumblebee is easy to talk to, but York City is not like a sister, not gentle enough, not smart enough. Sister York City, Sister Bumblebee, ha ha ha. Okay, if you are willing to come, from now on you will be an enterprise-level corporate eldest sister. The company was dissatisfied with what Missouri had done. Hey, you are really a madam. As for the Admiral, you plotted against a good friend. You took Hindenburg away before, and now you are looking for me. There are also instructors, Instructor Victory and Instructor Aurora Missouri side. The two of them were on the front line, which was really too far away. The company hit Missouri on the head with the magazine, thinking of what he had seen before, especially what he saw today. Get married, really get married. If you are embarrassed to say it, I will say it for you. Am I still embarrassed? Then hurry up, you idiot. Missouri put his hand on his forehead. Do you want to take care of it? You've been together for almost 2 years, so that's almost it, the company said seriously. Do you really like him? What? Answer my question directly. Missouri deliberately coyly said, it's very embarrassing to ask people this kind of question. Okay. Talk. Missouri put his arms around Enterprise's neck and blew into Enterprise's ear. I still like Enterprise, let's Lily cuckold him. You mean dash, Enterprise said, you are already his. Just say so. Missouri bit Enterprise's earlobe. Enterprise pushed Missouri away and laughed when he saw Missouri. She was really no match in this regard. There was a lot of noise here, and Sugu and Helena went to bed early. There was nothing they could do, they were too tired. As long as something happened the next day, Sugu could get up without an alarm clock. He had already gotten up early in the morning, standing in front of the floor-length mirror, and had just put on his Admiral uniform. You need to unbutton this button and pull up the hem. Unfortunately, there is no iron. Let me take another look. He is not a lazy house like Baizai. He will never get up until the last moment. If he is not cute enough, he will definitely not be liked by others. Helena is naturally not as good as Mrs. Perfect Lexington, or the reputation of the head maid, or the counterattack of the maid sister, but she is still very virtuous. That's it. Sugu put on the Admiral's hat and felt that as soon as he put on the Admiral uniform, his aura immediately improved. The only problem was that it was too hot, but formal attire was required for meetings. Although there are no explicit requirements, he is not the kind of person who knows that this is what the convention is and insists on dressing casually and being independent. Only middle school children like this. Leaving the bedroom, Lafayette had gotten up early and curled up on the sofa to read comics. She had bought new comics. After all the original comic books had been packed and taken back to the governor's house. Lafayette, Sugu called out. When the girl turned her head, he coughed and stood up straight. How about it, Admiral is handsome. Handsome. The powerful Lafayette didn't like to play devil's advocate. Super handsome. Sugu laughed and said, let's go and have breakfast. When they came to the cafeteria, many admirals had already finished eating and left. Lafayette saw that his little friend had disappeared all of a sudden. Sugu took a plate and put some fruits, a few mango lunch bags, siomai, and so on. When he was looking for a seat, he saw Gao Su again and said hello, feeling a little embarrassed. This time he saw the other party's ship girl, a tall and beautiful girl. Judging from her figure and appearance, she was definitely a battleship. She seemed to be a European admiral. No wonder she was so confident. Here Missouri waved. She and Enterprise had already arrived first. They sat at a seat by the window. They waited until Sugu sat over and said, you are here now. You have been squeezed dry by Helena. Your legs are weak and you can't get up. Roll. This porridge is delicious, the company said, We specially invited Ningai and Pinghai, who opened a store outside, to be the chefs. Really? Sugu snorted in his heart. Ninghai and Pinghai were just apprentices in front of Yuxian. In the governor's mansion, she prepared food for herself alone from time to time, so why didn't she see the wind and rain? There is a meeting after 10 o'clock, and most of what is said is the same old things, and of course you still have to take notes to write them down. No matter how the human government is, how corrupt it is, or how warlords, governments and anti-governments, countries and countries fight in certain places, as an admiral, you are not allowed to interfere. This is a rule. Having super strength requires even more restraint. The focus was on severely criticizing an admiral for using the garrison's privileges, which were similar to those of an embassy and independent of the country, to shelter so-called revolutionary and patriotic intellectuals who were being hunted down. The impact was very bad. He spoke frankly, and more importantly, the evidence was obtained, which made the ship girl headquarters very passive. Although it is a matter in the West, a new deep-sea flagship has once again appeared in this world, the deep-sea fortress Savoy, which is quite terrifying. There was a slight surprise, that is, when the photos of the Savoy were passed down, one by one the admirals took the photos, and they were not impressed by the dark ship uniforms, but also the powerful firepower of the ferocious gun barrels. Everyone was clamoring that she was not as cute as Fortress Princess, who was the cutest in the world, but her charming look with white hair and red eyes was enough for social security. They made reservations for rings, and expressed their intention to join the deep-sea camp and become the glorious deep-sea admiral. The eldest sister of the gendarmerie stood up and said that the admiral must pay attention to the influence and not hug each other in public. This will cause people to misunderstand that the admiral and the ship's wife lead a decadent life, and damage the glorious and majestic image of the coast protector and ocean guardian. Would you like some rabbits today? The club must be banned. Despite his scornful expression and a bandage on his head, Suchen, the club president, expressed his support for this decision. Introduced the movements of the deep-sea ship girls, as well as abnormal situations. Abyssal model worker, Abyssal Yamato sank before, but he has already woken up, his horns have grown out, and he is ready to move. Deep-sea brave, the deep-sea dragon is nowhere to be found. Then defeat the deep-sea supply sauce and you can exchange the loot for equipment. In short, in the autumn, everyone must continue to protect the smooth flow of routes, the safety of the city, and people's lives and property. There were meetings all day and there was a party in the evening. Amidst the melodious piano sound, Sugu finally saw Yujin. She was wearing a black dress, but unfortunately her chest was flat and she had no figure at all. She was in the sky with Mutsu, and she was complaining, "Asshole, I don't want to go back, no matter what. No matter how hard you push me, I don't want a blind date. I already have a wedding ship, my lovely young wife, the Snow White, so why do I still need to get married?" My condolences. Sugu could only comfort him like this. "Su, we should take action. Have you seen that guy? It's him. He's so arrogant." Sugu has no interest in showing off the boat, so he didn't plan to show off the boat this time, otherwise Xiao Zai and Rodney would wait for him. Really unparalleled mowing. Otherwise, Helena can do it too, with that figure that can suppress the entire audience. However, Missouri was interested and could only accompany her everywhere. The company was a big shot, so she walked around the whole place and talked to everyone, and from time to time she gave strange looks that made people pay attention. "Senior, I finally see you again." During the intermission, Sugu saw a blonde girl walking over. He thought she was showing off her boat. He was already prepared, but he was a little surprised to hear such a sentence. "She is definitely not my ship girl." "Who are you, girl?" "You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 829. A bob haircut is actually short hair that reaches the ears. The figure is not tall, but rather short. Thinking about it, petite is more accurate. He looks very cute, especially the little tiger teeth that are looming when he talks. As a girl, she has a flat chest, which is a bit pitiful. Although the girl called Senior and Senior, Sugu really didn't know who it was. He subconsciously looked at Helena, wondering if she knew her. If possible, he could remind her. Helena hasn't spoken yet, but judging from the look in her eyes, she definitely doesn't recognize him. The blonde girl complains slightly, mostly cute, Senior actually doesn't remember me. Hearing this, Helena's eyes became sharp in an instant. Could it be that in addition to so many people in the garrison, her admiral also raised a baby outside? She squinted her eyes and pricked up her ears, paying no attention to the details. Sugu was upright and not afraid of the shadow. He thought that his memory was pretty good, and most people he interacted with could remember it. He was still thinking about who it was when he saw the girl scratching her hair, suddenly realizing it, and smiled shyly. It's not surprising that seniors don't recognize me like this. I used to have double ponytails. I listened to my senior and cut my hair short. I only saw her once, and then I never saw her again. At that time, she had twin tails, but now she has short hair. It was really difficult for people to remember her, so it was surprising to recognize her. The girl thought for a while. Qingtian Guards, defensive battle, ALI. As soon as the name was mentioned, Sugu started to think about it. After all, the impression was quite profound at first. I thought it was who it was, but it turned out to be the golden retriever loser. But whether it's Lianghe County or Qingtian City, which we went specifically to find Tianlong and Longtian, it's really far away from here. It takes several days to take a boat, and it's not under the management of the company. Why are you here? Ali laughed. She sat down next to Sugu, holding a glass of juice in both hands. After all, it was not Mazichuan, so the wine never left her hand. I transferred it here recently. Where? Consultant Sug. The girl is still very lovable, but if she is a bad guy, her attitude will definitely be different. Laurel Bay Governor's Mansion. Ali said, Senior, please come to our governor's mansion when you have time. It's so beautiful there, with white sand and clear river water. It's the perfect place for a vacation. We just met by chance. The girl shouldn't be so enthusiastic, Sugu thought to himself. He saw the girl's face was serious. Senior, don't think that I am saying polite words. I am not polite at all, my feelings are very sincere. But thank you so much, Senior. Why are you thanking me? Sugu was a little confused. He had never done anything. Sure enough, I knew that the Admiral didn't remember. But it's a small thing for you, not a small thing for me. Ali recalled the past. I was super scared before, because I never had good luck and could not build powerful ship girls, only destroyers. I don't know how to run the garrison. I also want to be like those powerful admirals, with many powerful ship girls. When I saw the seniors last, I was really surprised. It was Tirpitz again. It's Xiaokeku and Ziwikaku again, both of them are extremely powerful. They have good equipment and high level of training. It's nothing special. Sugu smiled, and he liked the girl more and more. I also want to become stronger, so why don't I ask my senior how to build it better? Ali chuckled, showing her little fangs, not cunning, not arrogant, but a bit honest. Thanks to the Admiral for telling me. After all, what is the metaphysics of construction? And that, blonde hair with twin tails is a symbol of the defeated dog. It is best to have short hair and black hair. Ali put down the cup, put her hands on the bench, and straightened her legs. I listened to my seniors. After the defensive battle, I cut my hair short. Although I was a little reluctant to let it go, I kept it for a long time. But I still didn't dye it black. I was afraid of damaging my hair. In fact, I was very doubtful at that time, how could there be such a metaphysics? Amazing, so amazing, I cut my hair short, and built the ship girl in one go, and it was a powerful battleship. Well, I still arranged several roast suckling pigs, then burned incense, bathed and fasted. Sugu looked at the energetic girl and felt a little funny, thinking that he just said it casually, but you actually followed it. But what a coincidence, the battleship happened to be built. Even if it is metaphysics, just let go of the twin ponytails. There is no need to cut your hair short. After all, golden retrievers are not defeated dogs. What a powerful battleship. Congratulations first, but what kind of ship have you built? Sugu asked curiously. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly became alert. Many people like to suppress first and then expand, saying they are not good enough and then pretending to be big. After being taught by his seniors, Mensin started to post European certificates, which is also one of the major schools of boat showing, among which there are two types, intentional and unintentional. Hi-I, battle cruiser hi-I, it was just hi-I. Although there was no such thing, Sugu relaxed and heard the girl Ari say, so, I am really, really grateful to you, senior. Thanks to you, I have I sincerely invite seniors to come and play in my garrison. Moreover, when Europeans like seniors come to my garrison, they will also bring their European energy with them, and they can build powerful ship girls. Actually, I'm not a European anymore. I'm very non-European. I don't have any European spirit, only non-European spirit, Sugu said. Ali wrinkled her nose, senior is too modest. Sugu thought it was all just through games, luck was not worth mentioning. Thinking about it again, isn't it just luck to get such a golden finger? There seems to be nothing wrong with it. Actually, I am so enthusiastic about inviting senior to come to our guardhouse. There is one more thing I want to ask you. Ali lowered her head and became nervous. She didn't know how to speak, and was a little shy. How to build a powerful ship, Mom, I already know. So, what is the best way to salvage the boat? There is metaphysics in construction, and there is metaphysics in salvage. Among them, the most widely spread is that, deep-sea shipgirls and shipgirls have the same origin, but they are affected by negative emotions such as hatred, anger, disgust, etc., so they must first talk about it, and then talk about it. Naturally, there are many tricks. Tell the deep-sea shipgirl that you are wrong, tell the deep-sea shipgirl that there is truth, goodness, and beauty in this world, etc. In short, sink it in the end, which can effectively increase the chance of fishing out the shipgirl. Suguhan looked serious and spoke seriously, it's just a matter of building metaphysics for fun. Whether it's poisonous milk, window period, or women's cult, there is no big loss in failure. You have to know that even a small deep-sea destroyer cannot be underestimated. I sank it immediately, so don't play any tricks, otherwise no one will be able to bear the burden if there is an accident. Of course, if you crush it, it doesn't matter if you want to have fun. Ali waved her hands quickly, no, I'm not talking about this, it's not this kind of fishing. Sugu understood instantly, that fishing, there is no mystery, just ordinary methods. Senior, tell me, what method is it? Ali held her cheeks in her hands. She now had 100% trust in Sugu. It's just like pursuing a girl. You should know that. I don't know, Ali pointed at herself, I am a girl and I have never chased anyone else. When someone chases you, it's the same method. No one is chasing me. Ali wanted to be an admiral, but all she saw were ship girls, and it was rare to meet any men. So cute, how can no one chase her? Just after he finished speaking, Sugu saw Helena, and he coughed quickly. First of all, don't pretend too much. Be sincere and just do what you usually do. The ship girl is very keen, so that won't help. Find out more about what she likes and give her whatever she likes. Sugu thought of Veneto. If you give her ginger fish cakes that increase milk production by one stage, her goodwill will definitely increase and everything else will be easy to handle. After all, breasts are a nightmare, only on April Fool's Day dreams. Don't be so anxious about fishing for a ship. It's not easy to get the approval of a ship girl. Take your time and figure it out slowly. The first step is to take her back to the governor's house. It will be easier to handle later. Some admirals are so outrageous that the ship girl headquarters will arrange for some wandering ship girls to go to their garrison to help and create opportunities for them. It's easy to develop feelings when living together, so there's no need to say more about it. Sugu thought of poor Tian Hao. He had had such an opportunity before but failed to seize it. As a result, none of them were picked up. Each of the ship girls left after completing their missions. So far, there is only one Cao Sheng. Read more books to understand who is CP with whom, who falls in love with whom and kills each other. Then see what kind of ship girl she is. If she is Prince Eugen, then let Bismarck, well, not many admirals have Bismarck. Then if it's Claxton, Dyson, etc., and they are Fletcher level, then let Fletcher be dispatched. I know, Fletcher is also very rare. Then there must be Casson Young, Anthony, and Blaine. They are still very common. This method is too limited, and only the big boss can play it. Sugu thought to himself, it is not very useful, the company has spent so much effort, and it is a bumblebee, and it's Yorktown, completely useless. It was better to go with the giant elephant. I was confused and felt that there would be no problem in fishing the boat. Sugu said a lot, and the girl nodded repeatedly. After everything was finally said, Consultant Su asked, "Who are you going to fish for?" "Anyone is fine." Sugu didn't quite understand, "What do you mean?" Ali opened her hands and gestured, expressing her greatness, "I found a place where there are many ship girls. Just one is enough, I only need one." "You are too easily satisfied." "If it were me dash ha ha ha," laughed. Sugu came closer to Ali, opened his 5 fingers, and then closed them little by little into a strong fist. "I want them all." "Not greedy," Ali smiled, her eyes turned into slits, and thought about it carefully. "I went to a friend's house to play, and then I went to a shrine. There were many witches there. No matter which one they were all beautiful. From my point of view, judging from the Admiral's intuition, they are all ship girls. We tried to salvage the ship, but there was no way at all, it was completely impossible, so." Sugu looked at the girl who was full of longing and chatting. The more he listened, the more wrong he became. He looked at Helena and saw Helena nodding towards him. When the girl finished speaking, he asked, "Where is that shrine?" "Girl, this thing is destined to me, no, these people are destined to me." Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 830. Senior, why do you laugh so strangely? Is there any? Sugu looked around. Ali told her the address and asked, "Senior, aren't you trying to rob me?" "Which you want to rob or not depends on your ability." No, it's not a robbery. The ship girl who already has an admiral can't take action anymore. This is very unqualified behavior, but before that, there is no you, me, him. This kind of statement. Sugu really wanted to put his hands on the girl's shoulders and tell her that it was my people who were robbing her, but we were not very familiar with each other and could do such casual actions. Ali's eyes widened. She actually said that, it must be a bit shameful for Senior, but her request was very simple. She raised her index finger. "One, I only want one." Sugu thought for a while and didn't know how to explain it better. He silently organized the words in his mind and then spoke. When Ali went back not long after, her eyes were dull and she looked pitiful. "I originally planned to use the newly learned methods to salvage the ship. The requirements are not high, but one is fine. Of course, the more the better. From now on, the garrison can add a few more generals. Now it's good, it's over, everything is over, how can we compete with the seniors? That's the existence of a high mountain. Admiral, why are you looking so grim, with short orange hair? High Eye looked at his admiral who was like a walking corpse. It's okay, Ollie raised her head and smiled. She had already heard the explanation. To say she was angry, she was actually not angry. The other party was really an acquaintance, so she could only consider herself unlucky. No, on the contrary, congratulations should be made. Okay, I'm still a little unhappy. If not, everything is fine. Still a little worried, is it them? She just saw Ise, Hinata, Shirayuki, and Chikiya. Where did Fubuki and Ria go? The girl left. Sugu looked at Helena and took a sip of coke. I asked for many details, but the girl didn't know many things. Although the information that has been obtained is quite stable, there are no absolutes in this world, and it is not that we have never encountered it before. We ran out excitedly and finally found out that the person we were looking for was not the person we were looking for. It's not like I'm doing sales, so I can't speak too steadily. Sugu thought to himself that in the game, the two local girls Ise and Hinata really couldn't accept the standing painting. If it weren't for the expedition requirements and the low transformation level requirements, they wouldn't know how to practice at all. In the past, when the ship's position was poor, it was dismantled as soon as possible, and only later was it retrieved. Of the 4 Fubuki sisters, only 2 are left. Fubuki can be transformed, but Shirayuki mainly has a relatively beautiful 3-dimensional painting. The possibility is very high. Helena did not expect this to happen. She smiled. Is this pie in the sky, or is there no way out after all the difficulties? Sugu thought for a while. It should be said that if you plant flowers with intention, they will not bloom, but if you do not intend to plant willows, they will create shade. When Missouri came back, she naturally saw Sugu originally talking to a girl. At this time, she saw that his face was red, and he sat down next to him and crossed his legs. Awesome, he hooked up with another girl. Who is that? What do you mean by hooking up? We are friends. Seniors and juniors are just chatting. Sugu was very happy to get everyone's news. He waved to Missouri proactively. Let's go show off our boats. Where to start? It's better. That's it, he's so handsome. And Missouri, is it necessary to wear such high heels? SHH, little dwarf Missouri was wearing a dress, a purple chest-covering dress, and high heels were naturally the standard. She took Sugu's arm. The party lasted for a long time and didn't end until late at night. Despite the company's efforts to stay, Sugu decided to return to the town guardhouse the next morning. He thought that Missouri would stay for 2 more days, but who knew that she would also leave? I've been bothering you for 2 days. If you don't leave, you'll be annoying. Enterprise looked at Sugu with a strange expression. Treat Missouri well. Sugu waved his hand. Understood. While standing at the dock waving goodbye to Eugene, Ali, Senior Chen Nan and others, Sugu said, Missouri, no. I only know how to make sarcastic remarks. You go and try it, Missouri said. It's not that easy to make money from a company, no matter who comes. This place used to be just a small ship girl branch, but now you see everything was built by her hard work. She will not leave until someone can take her place. Helena pulled up the anchor, and Sugu took the cable off the bit and threw it on the deck. I thought of Zeppelin. Akage was gone, and she was gone not long after. Every time I met the war-weary principal, she complained to me that the aircraft carrier academy was paralyzed. Well, it seemed that she came to the town hall after handing over the work. When she came to the town hall, she was thinking about the academy all day long, and she left the town hall from time to time to go back to help teach, etc. Sometimes I spend half of a month at the academy. But now that I have become a destroyer teacher, I rarely go to the academy. By the time we returned to the governor's house in the afternoon, lunchtime had already passed. Fortunately, everyone was not so particular and could just deal with the leftovers that had not been ruined by Akagya. Yuxian originally wanted to prepare, but was stopped by Sugu, so there was no need for trouble. While sitting in the cafeteria eating, he told Lexington what he heard. There was information about the sisters in the townhouse, and the admiral was leaving again. This information spread throughout the townhouse not long after. In the evening. Although I was still very careful about the impact at first, now it has been broken, so let's leave it at that. Sugu hugged the soft body of the cute little girl U81. No matter how shy the little girl was, he would not let go. He looked at Ruhi, who was standing in front of him wearing a refreshing Kyoto uniform. That's enough. You really have enough. There's no need. Ruhi persuaded, let me tell you, my sister is gentle and virtuous, has unparalleled cooking skills, and is the best at taking care of people. She is also the kind of meticulous. Unlike reputation and counterattack, they take care of people as if they are business. Although Lexington's nickname is MRS, but my sister's nickname is also MRS, which is not bad at all. It's not like Lexington is evil. Although he is quite fierce when he gets fierce, he definitely doesn't dare to be cruel to the admiral. A powerful aircraft carrier, the combat effectiveness is guaranteed, and ordinary enemies cannot break through her sword perimeter. It is simply a must-have companion for home and travel. Sugu subconsciously hugged U81, who was hot all over his body, and whined. 3 little wolves surrounded his feet. He gently pushed them away, thinking to himself, he will not do anything to your master, I won't. Having seen a sister like you, I have already said that if it feels right, I will marry Xianghe, so you don't have to push her. But it's been a long time, and you haven't made any move at all. You feel that the affection is not enough, and my sister also feels that you don't like her enough. After thinking about it, you still have too little communication. So, I won't go. You go out for a honeymoon, cultivate your relationship, and everything will fall into place from now on. Do you understand what a honeymoon trip is? I understand, that's more than enough. When Ruhi saw what Sugu wanted to say, she suddenly resented, does the admiral hate my sister that much? I don't hate her, I like her very much, so beautiful and gentle. These were Sugu's sincere words. Then get married. I gave her a ring, but she didn't want it. Give it one more time and hold on a little longer. Ruhi said, to be honest, I really want to give the ring back to you. I used to dare to talk about you in front of my sister, but now I don't dare to. You don't, you know, I saw it. Well, she thought I wasn't there, but she was actually standing at the door. I saw her stroking my wedding dress and Baiwagu, with brilliant eyes. Sister, she really likes you and wants to be wedding ship. Sugu sighed, of course he knew Xianghe's feelings. To be honest, it would be okay if you are ugly, but it is most difficult to accept the kindness of a beautiful woman. Ruhi brought up the past things again, don't you think it counts after you look at my sister's body? Is this really the point of being a human being? I have seen Fletcher, several times. Sugu thought to himself, after being in the garrison for so long, he had accidentally seen several people who were not on the wedding ship. Are they all responsible? I don't want your sister to get married, so we can go out together. Then we can do whatever we want. Ruhi didn't give up, and she even knew the threat, promise me, if you don't agree, you won't touch me. If you don't touch, don't touch. Sugu was not afraid of threats. Ruhi knows his mistakes and can correct them, and he is good at coaxing. As long as you agree, you can do whatever you ask me to do. How about a Maiko costume? Actually, when it comes to Maiko costumes, my sister looks better in it. Sugu smiled bitterly, actually, you don't have to say so much. Just say one sentence. I have no objection. Sorry, Admiral, I can't accompany you. I don't know when. Xianghe stood behind the two of them. Ruhi, what do you say in front of the Admiral all day long? Xianghe grabbed his sister's back collar, her voice was gloomy. That's what makes an honest person angry. There's no reason to blame her, such a terrible sister is so difficult to deal with. Even if I like the Admiral, I can't sell him like this. It seems that I hate getting married. Ziwihi seemed to have backfired. When eating in the evening, Sugu secretly put all the dishes he didn't want to eat into Xiaoxi's bowl, and looked up to find a person sitting over. Admiral, you said they are in Shiratori County. It's just a possibility, it's not confirmed yet. Sugu saw Fei Ying. She was wearing short-sleeved shorts and a skirt. She has no breasts to begin with, which can be said to a more delicate boy, which is annoying. We've been there before. Have you never met them? After just saying this, Sugu felt that what he was asking was nonsense, and he must have never met them. Fei Ying replied, no. They are at the shrine. Have you been to the shrine? Cannot remember. If your memory is a little worse, are you a fish? What's the meaning? The memory of a fish is only 7 seconds. Sugu didn't know where he heard it in the first place, but it must be a rumor that the memory of a fish is only 7 seconds. The simplest is a lake with koi fish. As long as someone walks to the shore, they all swim over. The reason is that they remember that as long as someone comes to the shore, there will be food. Having said that, this rumor has now become a meme, describing poor memory. Is there such a thing? Fei Ying didn't care. She thought about it carefully. It seems that we haven't been to the shrine. We just went to watch the fireworks and ate ramen. Sugu originally thought that Fei Ying was coming and she wanted to go out together, but after talking for a while, she left. Admiral, what are you doing? Xiaoxi finally realized that there was a lot of fat in his bowl. Sugu looked at Fei Ying's back and felt confused for a while. Looking for the lost ship girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 831. Regardless of who is going and who is not, the tickets must be bought first. I bought a whole cabin with a total of 4 tickets. You don't need too many people, after all, you are not traveling. As for not using so many ferry tickets, this problem will never arise. Even if it does happen, anyway, the town hall is not short of money now. At worst, it will waste 1 or 2 ferry tickets and empty beds. I don't like living with outsiders. Sister, I'm doing this for your own good too. Xianghe knelt down beside the coffee table, and Ruhi hugged her from behind. Xianghe took a sip of tea and put down the teacup. In fact, she was looking forward to it, but she still refused sternly. I won't go if I don't want to go. Don't do unnecessary things in the future. I will definitely not do it again next time, so I will agree to it this time. Ruhi said, don't you want me to do it? Turn it into a wedding ship or something. Are you still embarrassed to say that? Xianghe frowned. Ziwihi became unhappy. I want to go visit shrines, temples, izakayas. Saratoga counted a lot on her fingers, then put her arms around Sugu's neck. Brother-in-law, let me accompany you this time, okay? It doesn't matter to me, Sugu said. Can you ask your sister? If she agrees, I will have no problem. You know, your sister has taken control of the town hall and has taken away all my power. Now I am the town guard house. It's just a mascot that looks good. Lexington glanced at Sugu angrily and coughed. I have no objection, but Jia, you are American. What's wrong with me being an American? Saratoga could speak at this time. She opened her hands, then clasped her hands in front of her chest, smiling like an angel. As long as you join the garrison, everyone will. We are sisters, we are in the same boat and share will and woe, and a family that loves each other does not need to distinguish between America, England, Japan, Germany, and France. Lexington stroked Saratoga's long golden hair. Who is it that talks about eating and drinking, being a family, and leaking Phoenix all day long? Do you regard us as sisters? Saratoga was immediately dissatisfied and became fierce. Sister, you are so embarrassed to accuse me, you have said it too. No, Lexington was a secretary. As a secretary, he paid great attention to his status and never said anything bad. Saratoga wagged her finger. You mean Akaga the little vixen? Lexington smiled brightly, but Saratoga started to panic. There are still several days until the time to board the ship, and it has not yet been decided who will go and who will not. Xiang he doesn't want to go anyway, no matter how much Ziwa he persuades him. Saratoga was rejected by her sister Lexington for reasons that could not be written on 3 pages. Flying Eagle and Falcon are good choices. Although they are only light aircraft carriers, their combat effectiveness is not low. The shrine where everyone is located is in Shiratori County. They lived there for a while before. Of course, this is not too important, and it is not an inaccessible mountain. Laolin, you must have a guide to lead the way. Lafite, pass the ball to me. Blackback Jackal, you are the goalkeeper, don't run around. That day, when Sugu walked through the town hall and wanted to go to the pier to enjoy the breeze, he saw a group of little Lolita playing football on the grass. Only Shuifeng sat alone on the stone pier and watched everyone play football. Shuifeng, why don't you play with them? I'll be fine just watching. Sugu said, don't always wait for others to invite you. You should take the initiative occasionally. I see. Sugu looked at Shuifeng and knew very well that she didn't listen at all. Her character is too shy, unlike Cushing, who is quite energetic. When she first came to the governor's house, she got to know everyone in a short time. In addition, although I have been enlightened by myself and am now much better, the inferiority complex in my heart is still not so easy to eliminate. Where's Shinano? Sugu thought to himself that Xiaozai has good friends Lafite and Quanxiang, Z-Drive is a group, Akatsuki Raiden has his own group, and Lan benefits from his exaggerated expressions and is very popular no matter where he is. He is just a fool. Be prosperous and prosperous. It seems that Yuki Kaze is the only one who doesn't have a regular playmate, but she does play well with Shinano. The two of them, one big and one small, often train together and always eat together. They have been friends for years. Shinano-san has gone to work. Yuki Kaze looked towards the complex. Shinano was working as a maid in the cafe. Sugu stroked Shuifeng's hair and felt uncomfortable seeing the bustle on one side and the loneliness on the other. He suddenly thought of something. There were still so many Japanese destroyers that had not returned to the garrison. Shuifeng, do you want to go with us? Shuifeng turned to Sugu and blinked. Of course she knew why she went out. Why did you call me? There are so many reasons why. Shuifeng lowered her head. She was wearing sandals, with her toes exposed, and moved, but what, as an admiral, it is the most basic requirement to understand the mental state of each ship girl. Sugu knew very well what Shuifeng was worried about. Auspicious things will come to you, and your home will be safe. Shuifeng knew what the sentence meant. In fact, Sugu was a little worried. Shuifeng's auspicious name was well known. If something unexpected happens, there is nothing the vast sea can do. Although nothing major has happened for many years, it was said that a passenger ship was sunk by a deep-sea ship a few years ago. I don't know how many people were rescued in the end. Despite this, he still said, I'm not worried. What are you worried about? It doesn't matter, Shuifeng, the admiral can't be injured, or... Shuifeng quickly stopped before he could finish his sentence. It was almost heartbreaking. Sugu approached Shuifeng and put his arm around her shoulders. You are with Shinano every day, and she is not particularly unlucky. Sister Shinano isn't unlucky enough. Yuki Kaze finally showed a smile. Sugu laughed. Shinano couldn't be more unlucky, it was unreasonable to be unlucky. Everyone else had no problems with the same fan, but hers had frequent problems, so she had to replace it. Whether it's an apple or a pear, it doesn't matter if others eat it, but what she takes will contain worms. What's more outrageous is that if you take one bite, you'll eat half a worm. Sugu waved his hand. How can I blame you? She has always been unlucky and lucky. When I first saw her, she fell down again, and someone knocked over the food box with a ball during lunch. It was the wallet that fell. Swafeng wanted to say something else, but Sugu said, let's make this decision. You and I will go out in a few days. Don't worry. I've told you before. Historically, the captains of Swafeng all went well. You survived smoothly. I am your admiral, commander, and also the captain. Speaking of which, I have a friend named Daniang, and his ship girl is Swafeng, and she is not doing well yet. The name is Daniang, and the ship girl happens to be Swafeng. What a coincidence. Okay, Swafeng finally agreed. At this moment, Sugu saw a black shadow flying towards him and was hit on the head. He rubbed his forehead and saw the football on the ground. He quickly looked over the grass and saw little Lolita looking at the big mackerel. He was gearing up, and the big mackerel turned around and was about to run away, but a little Loli couldn't outrun an adult, so he caught it in no time. He thought for a while and didn't know what punishment should be better. After thinking about it again, Swafeng just agreed, and this happened to him. It couldn't be that coincidental. In the afternoon, when Sugu told Lexington his decision to take Swafeng out this time, Lexington shook his head. No, 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 no. Sugu said, don't believe in those metaphysics. Don't be afraid of 10,000, just be afraid of the worst. If you let Swafeng know like this, do you know how sad she will be? It's sad to be sad. Nothing can happen to the Admiral. Lexington still shook his head. The Admiral's life safety cannot be compromised. After Sugu spoke carefully, Lexington finally gave in. Apart from Swafeng, who else are you going to call? The Admiral? He must be able to fight. Changchun, Sugu suddenly thought of someone. The guided missile destroyer is still very powerful. Lexington nodded in agreement. Then. Have no idea. Reputation, Lexington suggested. The headmate is trustworthy and more reliable than anyone else. Okay, Sugu thought for a while. Let's go to the Japanese this time. Xianghe doesn't want to go. Will Fuzu be better? She happens to be good at taking care of people, and her fighting ability is still good. It's just an ordinary deep-sea ship girl. Fuzu's training and excellent equipment are enough. If it is a deep-sea flagship, no matter who it is, everything will be over. These are the only reasons. Lexington stared at Sugu, staring at him with fury. Of course. Fuzu is just too unlucky. If there is Swafeng, is there any difference between good and bad luck? Sugu said, otherwise, reputation is the best. After staying in the governor's mansion for 2 days and setting off in late August, the people accompanying Sugu decided on Swafeng, Changchun, and Fuzhang. Although the cruise lasted a day due to snowy winds, we did not encounter any problems. But on the second night, it suddenly started raining heavily, and Sugu started to feel a little worried. He remembered what happened when he went to Washington. When the rumbling thunder sounded, the lights in the cabin went out after a few seconds. Sugu's heart was completely lifted until he heard Changchun's voice a moment later. Admiral, let's tell a ghost story. Although she is a ship girl with superhuman strength, she should still be afraid of ghosts. Just like people, she is not afraid of living people, but is afraid of the revenge of dead people. In the final analysis, she is just afraid of the unknown. Sugu took a deep breath and listened to the sound of the rainstorm. He asked Changchun, what ghost story do you want to hear? Casual. I am not afraid of zombies, vampires, and werewolves, I am only afraid of the ghosts from the east. Sugu thought about it, but his mind was completely empty of ideas because he didn't like watching ghost movies. I'll tell you the story of the cracked girl. After finally finishing the story, Sugu said, "Turn on the light." This time it was really a ghost story. Changchun trembled and said, "I turned on the light, but it didn't light up." "I'm sorry, it must be because of me." Swifeng began to feel inferior again. "It's none of your business." Changchun quickly comforted her. She still had a good impression of Swifeng, mainly because Swifeng had grown up and might become Danyang, and then everyone would be one of their own. The lights turned on immediately after Changchun finished speaking. Sugu knew what was going on. "Girl, you are too naughty," so he really hit Changchun on the head. "I won the prize, buy one, get one free, I'll give it to you again." The cruise ship docked in less than 2 days, again in Crane City. Then everyone took a train and finally arrived in Shiratori County at night, and it was completely dark. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 832. Alaska. Sugu suddenly had an idea when he saw Changchun running and jumping. "Changchun, you must be Alaska." Changchun blinked confusedly. "Confused? I am not Alaska, I am Changchun, and I am a guided missile destroyer." "I didn't mean Alaska." Sugu felt a little confused. "I meant dog." "You are an Alaskan dog. It is essentially a furry boat. Doberman, Spaniel, Rottweiler, and Corgi may not know it, but there is no reason why the 3 sledding idiots can't recognize it." Changchun retorted, "You are the dog." Suddenly thinking of something, Changchun covered his mouth and snickered. Xiaoxiang Leiden used to have a Shiba Inu named Admiral. Although it's hard to say where it is now, it was still in the stomach after he gave it away. In short, everyone in the guardhouse knew about this matter. She pointed at Sugu. "Shiba Inu, the Admiral is a Shiba Inu. Sooner or later, we have to teach them a lesson." Sugu looked unkind. The thunder and lightning was fine. The main communicator was Ruhi, but it was a pity that she was not here now. "Why?" Changchun suddenly became curious. "Why do you say I am Alaska? If you don't agree, you will tear the family apart." Although he has never raised one, Sugu has seen many of Alaska's glorious deeds on the internet. Changchun retorted, "When did I demolish my home? Do you have to tell me?" Sugu looked at Changchun and twitched the corner of his mouth. The girl put a missile in the guardhouse and it almost exploded. Thinking about it, she still had lingering fears. He usually likes to play pranks and is quite honest. He is no better than the 3 bullies in the town hall, and is even more exaggerated. This is the case. There is no way to explain it. Changchun turned around and said dissatisfiedly, "It was just an accident. It was only once. The Admiral is really a petty person. I will always remember it." "How many more times do you want it?" "I know, I will pay attention." Sugu continued, "He has unlimited energy. He starts having fun as soon as he goes out, and he can't hold him back no matter what." When we arrived at Shiratori County by train, it was already late at night. I asked the staff at the train station. Although the shrine is not in the suburbs, it is quite remote, so of course I can't go there. We can only find a place to rest and start again the next day. Needless to say, Fuzu, Yamato Nadshiko's character, is gentle and virtuous, and likes to be quiet. Yukikaze is also well behaved. Changchun is the only one who is restless and picky when eating. On the way to the shrine, I ran under a telephone pole to watch the workers working on it, and then I ran to the notice board. I saw a cat walking by on the fence and wanted to jump up and catch it. I didn't do anything, of course. Changchun denied it. She thought for a moment, "Alaska is so stupid, but I'm super smart." "Super smart?" Sugu suddenly laughed. "Well, you admit that you are a puppy. Bite you. Changchun bared his teeth. Sugu thought for a while and realized that he had played this trick many times. He couldn't remember whether he had played it against Changchun before. Test you, what is 1785584 plus 876234? Changchun stretched out a hand, and her expression was stunned. How could it be possible to calculate such a question? How much do you think it is? 2183522. Changchun's eyes flashed. Then I will test you. 4751254 plus 211245. Sugu pretended to think, and after more than 10 seconds, he showed a surprised expression. 51575354. It can't be that powerful. Changchun was completely frightened. Sorry, Sugu said, your admiral is just that powerful. It must be nonsense. You said I was talking nonsense, Sugu said. Then what do you think the answer is? It was simply an embarrassment. I just mentioned the numbers casually, not to mention the answer. I couldn't remember anything about the question. Changchun said, you are wrong anyway. When you come out to fool around, you have to admit your mistakes, and you have to stand upright when you are beaten. Sugu laughed in disgust. Suifeng had seen Sugu teasing other people like this before. When Sugu spoke, she became wary. She said, add the single digits, 4 plus 5 equals 9. The Admiral's answer just now is 4, that's not right. Admiral, you are kidding me. Changchun reacted and hit Sugu on the chest. So you're stupid. Suifeng knows that I'm talking nonsense, but you can't tell. Changchun is already a girl, so it's really not possible, but Suifeng is just a little Lolita. It doesn't matter at all. Sugu hugged her. She bastard Admiral. Changchun lightly kicked Sugu, and then ran away. Within a few seconds, she stood in front of a store and waved, Admiral, come quickly. Sugu knows very well that Changchun is a big foodie. Of course, compared to people like Akagi and Quincy, dog meat cannot be put on the table at all. He slowly walked over, and unexpectedly discovered that the store Changchun saw was not a snack shop, but a store selling various handicrafts, including porcelain, dolls for Women's Day, folding fans, wood carvings, bamboo hats, and lucky cats, and a variety of masks. Changchun picked up a bamboo hat and put it on his head, only missing a samurai sword, and waved his hand towards Sugu, Tianxiang Dragon Slash. Changchun put down the bamboo hat, then picked up the mask of a green-faced and fanged evil ghost and put it on, baring her teeth and claws. Rua. A long time ago, Sugu understood a truth. Hesitating in the supermarket, not knowing what to buy was not a difficulty in choosing at all, but a lack of money. Now that he has money, he is still very generous. Unless it is something really flashy, he will support whatever everyone wants. There are many dolls in the small house, and he bought quite a few of them, including Bismarck dolls, pillows, nesting dolls, and figures. He bought whatever he saw. However, this time, he walked to Changchun, leaned over and whispered, I won't buy it. What are the ways to deal with the Admiral? Changchun grabbed Sugu's palm with both hands and shook it. I like the Admiral the most. This trick of yours is of no use to me. The little Lolita has learned to behave like a spoiled child. With more experience, Sugu naturally resisted. Seeing that it was no longer possible, Changchun dropped Sugu's hand, jumped up and jumped on him, wrapping his arms around his neck. Admiral. Critical hit, armor breaking, penetration, understanding, crushing, my aunt. Sugu gave in an instant. Let go. Bye. This Changchun picked up a Tengu mask, thought for a while, put it down, and changed to a fox mask. This is better. Suifeng, what do you want? Sugu ignored the hesitant Changchun and saw Suifeng. After all, the purpose of bringing her out this time was to relax with her and have some fun. Suifeng shook his head. I don't want it. Sugu knew this would happen. He picked up a mask and said, warrior or cat? Swafeng whispered, fox. Fuzu wants one too. Sugu recalled that when he went to Xiaoxiang Liden, he, Beizai, Xiang Hiruhi each asked for a mask, but he didn't know where his own mask was thrown. After a while, he remembered that Akatsuki Gai and Ziwahi were joining in the fun and putting their own masks on the Shiba Inu, so of course he didn't want it. I don't want it anymore. Unlike Swafeng's words of no and eyes full of longing, Fuzang really has no interest. Changchun put on a fox mask. Admiral, do you think Fuxiu and the others can recognize us if we put on masks? Probably not. There is a wonderful connection between the Admiral and the ship girl, but it is not obvious. Sugu remembered that she had met Xiao Zai in the abandoned town mansion before. He was only wearing a pair of sunglasses and seemed to be wearing a peaked cap. It was just so crude that she couldn't even recognize her favorite admiral in the world. Let's all put on masks and scare them. Changchun nodded. Good idea. Sugu actually liked playing like this, but after thinking about it, he felt that it would be weird if he wore a mask. It's not good. Changchun asked, what's wrong? In the end, everyone asked for a mask, and Changchun also bought a folding fan. In fact, she wanted many more things, but they were not convenient to carry, so she rejected them all. After walking for a while, we were surrounded by lush trees. We found a path leading to the mountain on the side of the road. Walking on the stone steps, it seemed to feel much cooler all of a sudden. Changchun ran up and down. Sugu looked back and saw the torii gate. He showed off, does Changchun know? Passing through the torii gate means that we have entered the divine realm. Oh, Changchun responded. The god's territory, so watch your behavior. What's wrong with my behavior? Changchun ran up a few steps. She opened her hands and said, Admiral, catch me. Don't make trouble. If you don't seek death, you won't die. No matter how romantic you are, your life is more important. I really want to live another 500 years. Sugu said, something will really happen. Coward. Changchun retracted her hand and her eyes fell on Jizo on the roadside. Walking up the road, Sugu looked at the lanterns, big trees, bamboo forests, shrubs, and beams of light passing through the dense canopy. He listened to the chirping of cicadas, the chirping of birds, and the wind. Blowing the big tree to make a roaring sound, he talked to Fuzang, didn't you know there are fireflies at night? Firefly is in the guardhouse. Changchun interrupted, and Sugu knocked on her at that time. It's the end of August, almost September, there should be no more. Fuzu thought for a while. But it's still hot. Have no idea. Sugu hesitated to speak, thinking that although the night with fireflies was beautiful in the animation, it might not be that beautiful in reality. It was so dark that nothing could be seen. But during the day, it would probably be nice to sit on the stone steps going down the mountain outside the shrine, drink tea, and look at the fallen leaves. It didn't take long, and I quickly finished walking up the stone steps and arrived at the shrine. However, I didn't see a beautiful girl wearing a Maiko costume sweeping the floor with a broom. When walking on the shrine paved with stone slabs, Changchun reminded everyone to put on their masks. Immediately afterwards, I passed by the hand water house, the social office, the Emma cake, and all the way to the worship hall, but I still didn't see anyone. Changchun saw the donation box and ran over to see how much money was in it. When Sugu saw Swafeng's well-deserved auspiciousness, he suddenly felt a little worried about the child. She was so well behaved and she must be praying for him. Although it is said to be metaphysics, it is better to pay attention to it. It doesn't matter whether you live a long life, have smooth sailing, get promoted or make a fortune, be healthy, be safe, or build a miracle, or be sure to ship the goods when you salvage the ship. There is no one. Fuzang said. I don't know, let's look around. Sugu looked around. Of course, finding everyone is more important than praying for blessings or doing anything else. Looking for the lost ship girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 833. Kaguya. Judging from her appearance alone, she is just a pretty girl with long blue hair. In fact, her true identity is the super powerful ship girl destroyer Fubuki. She was looking at her younger sister Bai Suihao, who was sitting to the side and looked similar to her, but her hair was much longer, hanging down to her waist and tied up with a red ribbon. "Don't call me Kaguya." Bai Shui put down the book in her hand and looked at her sister helplessly. Fubuki rolled on the tatami and lay on his back looking at the ceiling. It rolled a bit more and landed next to the fan that was shaking its head. In fact, the shrine they live in is halfway up the mountain. Among the mountains and forests it is quite cool, even without a fan. At night, they even need to cover themselves with a quilt. "I want to eat pudding." "If you want to eat, go get it." "Can you get it for me?" Fubuki acted coquettishly. She only behaved like this in front of her sister. The relationship between the two sisters was so good. "Sister, my good sister." Bai Shui was a little helpless, but finally got up. The main reason was that she knew very well that if she didn't help, her sister could continue like this and there would be no way to read. Apart from the chirping of cicadas and the rustling of the wind in the treetops, the shrine seemed a little quiet. She walked across the courtyard to the warehouse and came back quickly, bringing back 2 puddings. Fubuki turned her head and looked at the pudding placed in front of her. She was too lazy to move. She had to take the next step and said, "Fubuki, please feed me." "Don't go too far." Bai Shui finally couldn't help it anymore. She hit her sister lightly with the book. It hurts. It wasn't really that strong, but it didn't stop Fubuki from touching his forehead and complaining. She climbed up with difficulty, picked up the pudding and a small spoon, and sat cross-legged. "School will start in a few days." She usually goes to school, and when she is not at school, she works as a shrine maiden at a shrine. It's summer vacation now, and there are only a few days until school starts in September. Time flies so fast, it can be said to be a blink of an eye. Although I have only had a few days off, I still miss campus life and my friends, and now I am a little panicked. "Have you finished your homework?" Bai Shui watched everything her sister Chui Shui did all day long, reading novels or wandering around. She never seemed to study or do homework seriously. Fubuki took a pair of glasses from the table next to her and put them on. She was still a little different from the class monitor in the average person's impression, but she still had the appearance of an obedient student. In fact, the glasses are just plain glasses. "In order to match the uniforms I usually wear when I go to school." "No problem, I have already finished copying." "Have you finished copying?" Bai Shui said every word. How could this be done? Really afraid that her sister would sound like an old-fashioned teacher lecturing someone, Fubuki quickly changed the subject. "Shirayuki, I met Anzu yesterday." "Oh," Bai Shui responded. "Sakian, everyone's friend in school." Fubuki took a spoonful of pudding and put it in her mouth, then took another spoonful to feed her sister. "Ah! Eat it yourself." "Hurry up." Bai Shui wanted to refuse, but Fuxue didn't stop and finally ate. Fubuki shook the spoon. "I met her at the rental bookstore yesterday. She was returning the books and asked me what it was like to be a shrine maiden at a shrine." Fubuki looked down at the Maiko uniform she was wearing, with sarongs, white clothes and scarlet hakama. She laughed loudly. "I told her what it was like to be a Maiko. When I got up in the morning, I looked at the money box, but there was no money. Clean up, it's troublesome to sweep up the fallen leaves." In the summer, she sits under the eaves and drinks tea, and in the winter, she sleeps under the kotetsu and eats oranges. It's like this. I think her fantasy is shattered. Fubuki continued, "She just reads too many novels. Even if it is a shrine, there is no earth god, no messenger, no shrine spirit, no fox, no tanuki, or anything, nothing at all. It is better to live in the prefecture. There is a convenience store just outside the door. You can buy anything you want, biscuits, snacks, coke. Living in the shrine is really too remote and very inconvenient. Going up and down the mountain is a hassle. Bai Shui looked at the book in her hand. It was actually a novel. Although this is not the case, there have been popular novels and manga depicting life at shrines in the past. The girl who ran away from home will become the earth god of the shrine by chance, and then the handsome and arrogant fox god, the weak and beautiful boy white snake god, and the cold Tengu god will follow one after another. She smiled bitterly, remembering that for a long time, many of her classmates envied her for living in a shrine. Haha, I only see thieves eating meat, but I don't see thieves being beaten. Outsiders can only see the scenery. How much suffering there is, like a person knowing whether the water is cold or warm. The doctor looks respectable, and his advice to people to learn medicine is overwhelming. To be honest, I feel that no one comes to our shrine at all, and it is about to close down. Fubuki complained fiercely, and her eyes were suddenly attracted by something. She looked out the window and frowned. Fox. What fox? Shirayuki asked. Has a fox come to the shrine? Although foxes are quite common in myths, legends, and stories. The messenger of an airy god is a fox. Foxes get married and foxes repay favors by word of mouth. In fact, except for some shrines that specialize in raising foxes, you want to see foxes in the wild. It's still quite difficult. It's not like squirrels, or wild cats, or domestic cats that are abandoned by people, there are so many of them. It's not a fox. Someone is here, wearing a fox mask. As Fubuki spoke, he saw the man wearing the fox mask sideways on his head just turned his head, and was stunned for a moment. That face was a bit familiar, or rather, it was a face that was absolutely impossible to forget. There used to be a garrison with an admiral, but then the admiral disappeared and could not be found no matter what, so everyone left the garrison. That face was clearly that of the admiral. In disbelief, she rubbed her eyes and looked over again, but no one could be seen. There's no one there. Bai Shui turned her back to the window. She followed Fuxio's line of sight and turned her head. She didn't see anyone at all. The front of the worship hall was empty. The shrine usually has few guests, mainly because there are several shrines in the county. It's not a holiday now. If it were the New Year, we would be very busy. It's just an ordinary day and it's still early in the morning. I guess everyone has just had breakfast. If it were a stranger's face, Fubuki would definitely go over and take a look. But the admiral's face obviously cannot appear here, so it is probably an illusion, like he is thinking about it day by day and dreaming about it at night. A person does not believe that there are ghosts in the world, but he still dare not walk through a cemetery in the middle of the night. I live in a shrine on weekdays and don't talk about ghosts and gods, but I'm still a little skeptical. The fox mask, the admiral, the fox that transformed into a human form, Lord Fox Fairy, thought a lot, and she became a little scared for a moment. Even on a hot day, Fubuki felt a hint of coolness. Begs you, do you think there are really fox fairies in this world? Bai Shui was confused and didn't know why her sister asked such a question. Admiral, do you still remember? Of course I remember, Bai Shui said. It is impossible for a ship girl to forget her admiral. Even if it has been so long, she will burst into tears from time to time, just because when she is talking or doing things, she suddenly remembers that the admiral has said such words and done such things before. When I woke up in the morning, my eyes were filled with tears because I saw it again in my dream. Even though that was a bad admiral, it was still an admiral. Do you think a fox will become an admiral? How is that possible? Bai Shui said. If you laugh at others, you must have read a lot of novels and comics. Fubuki thought about it for a while, but she still felt a little upset. She stood up and said, I'll go take a look. I just misunderstood the purpose, the guest, it couldn't be the fox spirit. Fubuki hesitated for a moment. I'll get the salt. According to Shinto teachings, salt can drive away ghosts and evil spirits. No one was seen in front of the worship hall, so Sugu took everyone to the social affairs office and the Nazar office. The social affairs office is where the clergy and management staff work overnight and do their work. The Nazar Center is a place that specializes in recycling the mascots people bought during last year's Chuyi. It's just that it's empty here, not a single soul. Natsuki World, Marry Me Emma is a form of wishing. You write your wishes on a wooden sign and offer it to the gods to pray for God's protection. As a fishery administration ship, it doesn't matter if it's Japanese or something. Changchun didn't have much idea. She didn't care about finding everyone at all. She came out this time mainly because she had fun. She was quite energetic. At this time, she ran to the front of the Emma cake, which is the hanging area of the shrine's Emma. She looked at the wooden sign above and started to chant softly. Yui Aragaki, my wife. I don't know if this is polite, but I remember seeing many photos of Emma hanging on the internet. Sugu also walked to the front of the Emma cake. He saw a wooden sign and muttered it in a low voice. It couldn't be such a coincidence, but it was such a coincidence. He looked at the name on the wooden sign with a strange expression. Pray, the whole family is safe and happy, the parents are healthy, and the son thrives. Pray, don't fail the exam. Pray, grow up quickly. Bigger breasts, Sugu thought to himself. Could it be Veneto's Emma? But it was impossible to achieve. Even if God came, there was nothing he could do. Don't be greedy. I just want to build a heavy cruiser. May God bless you. Sugu looked at a wooden sign, which must have been hung by an admiral. It seems quite strange. It's just a heavy cruiser, but it actually needs to pray. Write down the name quickly, and be careful if you encounter him in the future, so as not to offend him. Also, don't jump too much, otherwise the Africans will go crazy and might eat spears. Destroyer, destroyer, destroyer. Sugu saw a wooden sign with the word destroyer written all over it. He guessed that it was hung up by a member of the Would You Like Some Rabbit today. It's so perverted, you don't hide your desire. It was originally because the girl Ari knew about this shrine, and Sugu wanted to find her Emma on the Emma hanging, which was probably very interesting. Even if you can't find hers, it doesn't matter. It would be nice to see some of the African admiral's Emma. There is no way he will be exposed anyway, his garrison is the best in the world. Admiral, aren't we going to find Fubuki and the others? Sugu was fascinated. Fuzang stood aside and waited for a long time. She had to cough to remind her admiral that everyone still had business to do. Yeah, it's important to find everyone first, Sugu reacted. He saw Changchun and found that the girl was still watching. He was shameless. Changchun, everyone is waiting for you. Stop watching. You are a little self-conscious. Okay. Let's go. Changchun was thinking about it, and Sugu said, let's go to the main hall first. If we don't see anyone there, then we can look for the place where we live. Admiral, mask, Changchun reminded him again while walking on the road. The mask felt fine when worn sideways on his head, but it always felt a bit strange when worn on his face. Sugu was hesitant. We agreed, it will be fun to scare them. Changchun put on the mask himself and forced Swafeng to put it on, followed by Sugu and Fuzang. Okay, being entangled by Changchun, Sugu had no choice but to put on his mask. Let's go. Changchun raised her hands and took the lead. You're going the wrong way. Sugu saw Changchun walking outside the shrine and reached out to grab her by the back collar. Are you a road warrior? Are you still confused? She made a mistake. Changchun shrank her neck and stuck out her tongue. She was the most adorable. After a moment, she calmed down and said, those in front, lead the way. No one was seen in the main hall, and everyone went to the backyard again. Swafeng's sharp eyes saw a blue-haired girl looking around while walking. She whispered, there. Fuzu said, that's Fubuki. The starting ship is Firefly, mainly because I heard that she is the strongest. Fubuki just fished it out from behind, but I don't like the standing painting very much, so my level of practice is not very high. Even Firefly had no special feeling for Sugu. Even Xiazai, Lexington, and Saratoga were just names if he hadn't experienced so much. Of course, now that he has been an admiral for a long time, the feelings of ship girls are more or less mature. When he saw the blue-haired girl, he took a deep breath. Fubuki. Fubuki held the salt bowl and walked in the corridor of the shrine. Regardless of the admiral, the hallucination, the guests, or the fox fairy, she decided to go and have a look. Fubuki. Fubuki heard a voice calling him. The voice was a bit familiar, it was the admiral's voice. She looked in the direction of the sound and saw two people, one big and two small, wearing fox masks standing there. They looked weird. Fubuki. Even though the other person was not wearing a yukata like the fox spirit in the manga, Fubuki's heart skipped a beat when she saw the man wearing the fox mask approaching her. Fubuki, yes, it's me, I'm back. Fubuki saw the man wearing the fox mask walking up to him, taking off the fox mask, revealing a familiar face. Fox, Admiral. Fox, Admiral. She was not surprised at all, but a little scared. It felt so weird. She took a few steps back in panic and threw out a handful of salt. The evil spirit departs.